All right, all right, all right. It's another Saturday. Therefore, another Saturday night shoot the breeze. I want to thank everyone who's already here and everyone that will be here by the time we end the show tonight. Already, I see the matrons out there saying, greetings, everyone. Greetings to the matron. You all say what's up to the matron. Thanks for coming through. You know what I like to do. In fact, it's the matron who inspired me to do this. I like to come on early and tell you guys what we have in store for you tonight. We're going to discuss potential reasons why Americans are so good at sports today. And I think there's a very interesting conversation to be had in there. We're going to answer the question, is race first politics inherently a male trait? Very interesting. We're going to talk about Burkina Faso and Mali and how they might become one country in our lifetime. Are we in an African spring? We're also going to talk about the ideological split between Nyerere and Nkrumah's models for Africa. We're going to talk about open borders and visas, right? We're going to talk about are men just as guilty of dealing with the Pukisha, right? We always talk about the women dealing with the Pukis and the Reres. Are men just as guilty of dealing with Pukisha? So those are all the different things we're going to talk about tonight. Daily affirmations by Pauline is out there saying good evening to her as well. Thanks for coming through. So those are the things we're going to talk about tonight. What I'm going to do now is start the show officially. And on the other side, I'll introduce any and all of the panelists that join us tonight. And then we'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number one. So you guys do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is the where.
Hello there, dear listener. We hope you're enjoying this lovely discussion. If you're not already aware, this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio, a Pan-African nationalist and Garveyite network committed to showcasing the rich and varied thoughts of African people. We have an exciting lineup of shows that we think you'll enjoy, including
the Bitter Medicine Podcast.
I think Black people require too much buy-in. Like, we constantly have to sell Black people on things that are beneficial to Black people.
The Pro-Black Perspective Podcast.
I'm fearful that our people are not really studying how to get ahead, you know? And we're kind of continually staying behind.
The Harsh Reality Podcast.
To me, it don't matter. I think people are so dumbed down. It wouldn't matter what you reveal to them. They still are in the matrix. They in the simulation. They're going to keep doing what they did. They lemmings. So to me, it don't matter, man.
The Learning Curve Podcast.
Sexual access has never given you economic empowerment. The only person who has ever been economically empowered by a sexual relationship is the wasp and his woman.
The Cassidra Cheek Show.
When we start rising up to fight for our own, I guarantee you they'll stop doing what they're doing. I guarantee you they would have let their brother go. They was waiting to see what black folks was going to do.
Brother Bakari Podcast.
Black people love to claim folks that hate them, right? They're a slave master, and they are ashamed of who they really are.
The 4Kast Radio.
Like, if you pray to the same deity as, like, your enemy, and that God blesses your enemy more than you may want to reconsider who you praying to,
And Tanzan, African Mind.
Africans generally are welcoming of everyone. Sometimes, to my consternation, I think that they should be less, welcoming.
If you love our podcast network, we would be grateful if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website at www.kwazradio.com for more information. Thank you for tuning in. And now, back to the program.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Welcome back to another episode of Shoot the Breeze, segment of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Let me introduce my panelists tonight. Let me get Kevin Carre. How are you this week?
I'm good. A little exhausted. Been up all day, all night. Had to go up to the Westchester to go cover something, but I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm tired.
Huh?
I echo your sentiment. For some reason, I'm sleepy as hell right now. But
yeah, well, let's do this show, man. Greeting to the rest of the panel.
Thanks for coming through. Let's hear from Black Steel. Black Steel, how are you this week?
I'm doing great. I'm unlike you. I'm kind of refreshed right now. I slept good last night. Feeling wonderful. But yeah, shout out to the panel. Glad to see everybody here tonight.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming through, Black Steel. Ada. Let's welcome in Oni this week. Oni, how are you?
I'm cool. Probably some sleeping gas going on. No, I'm joking. I'm not tired. But everything's cool, man. I hope everything's cool with everybody. Peace to the panel.
Good. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming through. And last but not least, let's welcome in Buana this week.
What's up, brothers, man? I'm not sleepy. I'm fresh, just like Black Steel. so y'all all sleepy dudes, y'all need to go to bed. It's almost 9 o'clock for y'all.
I'm telling you, man. I don't know what hit me here, but I'm tired as hell. But thank you all for coming through. Thank everyone in the chat. I see Ketter is out there in the chat as well, saying peace, family. I shouted out Daily Affirmation by Pauline earlier and the matron. So shout out to everyone who's here. You know what? Without further ado, man, let me drop should be topic number one. In the meantime, you guys on the panel in the chat, share the show on your social media. Let everyone know where you're hanging out on this Saturday night. Shoot the Breeze topic number one is, oh hell nah. Whose woman's is this? Whose woman is this? More alien talk. So we talked about some alien stuff about 2 weeks ago. I guess this is kind of in response to that. So let's have a conversation after we check out the attachment. Crap, wrong thing. So it takes us to YouTube. I don't know how much of this video to play. I don't think it was a timestamp. So I'll play about close to 10 minutes of it, and then we will discuss it.
Greetings, family. Welcome to the African Exodus Show. I'm your host, Tierney Cherie, here to you with a new video. Before we get started, please do, if you have not already, add yourself to my Telegram channel. Telegram is an independent platform that I use to update people when I post videos. YouTube is not very good at giving people notifications, so that's the best way you can stay in the loop. The link to that is down below. So we're going to continue this week with what we talked about last week, which is the Watchers. The Watchers who were fallen angels. They were angels. They were, some of them were archangels. And they actually came down to earth to mate with humankind. So we talked about that in the last video. We're going to continue on talking about not just who they were, but today we're going to talk about what they want. What are they trying to accomplish? Because believe it or not, if you actually look at their actions, not just in scripture, but also with people who have encountered so-called aliens, whenever you look at their actions, you can very well see that they're trying to achieve a certain end and using a certain means to do it. And I believe that that means that the end that they're trying to accomplish is the recreation of what they had at one time when they were able to live as if they were gods. So with that, let's go to the scripture. We're going to start with Ezekiel 28:11. It says, "You were anointed cherub who covers, and I placed you there. You were on the holy mountain of Yahuwah. You walked in the midst of the stones of fire. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created until unrighteousness was found in you. By the abundance of your trade, you were internally filled with violence. You sinned. Therefore, I have cast you as profane from the mountain of Yahuwah, and I have destroyed you, you covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was haughty because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom by reason of your splendor. I threw you to the ground. I put you before kings that they may see you. By the multitude of your wrongdoings, in the unrighteousness of your trade, you profaned your sanctuaries. Therefore, I brought fire from the midst of you. It has consumed you, and I have turned you to ashes on the earth in the eyes of all who see." This is talking about, obviously, Lucifer. We know Lucifer, who was in the garden, who was the serpent. He was really the head angel. He was the head cherub. It says that he covered. His responsibility was to be the cover for Yahuwah, and he fell from grace. He fell because of his desire to be like the Almighty. Because of that, he became relegated, and today is roaming the earth, seducing people, getting people to turn against each other, doing all types of works of evil. Now, you can obviously infer, because Lucifer was a watcher, he was an archangel, that what he wants must also be what the other watchers want, because Lucifer, as the scriptures say, this is his realm as far as this kingdom that it currently exists. This is the one that he rules. He's being allowed to rule for an amount of time until Yeshua comes back and judges him. So it's his realm right now, and all of them, including the watchers, fall under him. They listen to him. He's the head command. So if this is what he wanted, because he was so bold to profane, he was the one who was in love with his beauty and his splendor. He was the one that was so arrogant and wanting to be praised as if he were the Almighty. Then you can infer that the other watchers similarly wanted the same. So let's go to another scripture. If you look at the book of Enoch, "Thou hast seen what Azrael has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon earth, and has disclosed to the world all the secret things which are done in the heavens." Verse 6, "Semiyaza also taught sorcery, to whom thou hast given authority over those who are associated with him. They have gone together to the daughters of men, have lain with them, they have become polluted." What you all should understand about the Watchers, they did for a season actually rule. That was what we talked about last week. They were actually ruling over humanity. They, under the direction of Lucifer, who's again the head, the chief of their realm, they were praised, they were worshipped as being smaller gods to their one god, which was Lucifer. And because of that, they want to live inside of that world again. They want to re-inherit their kingdom. How do I know this? "Thou hast seen what Azrael has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon earth, and has disclosed to the world all the secrets which are done in the heavens. Semyaza also taught sorcery, to whom thou hast given authority over those who are associated with him. They have gone together to the daughters of men, have lain with them, and they have become polluted. They were polluting mankind. They were teaching sorcery. They were teaching things, unknown things that were only known in the heavens. The reason why is this would make them appear as if they were gods. If you have all this knowledge, if you're teaching us all of these ways, then clearly you must be a deity, because these are things that we had no clue about, technology that we would never think about, yet you're unveiling these things to us in the here and now. That's literally what we found out with the Anunnaki, what happened with the Sumerians. They were literally being exposed to so much technology that the automatic assumption was, you must be a god. They were worshipped for that. It also says, though, in Enoch 10:18-20, that Yah had to destroy all the souls addicted to dalliance and the offspring of the watchers, for they have tyrannized over mankind. Let every oppressor perish from the earth. Let every evil work be destroyed. So not only were they teaching men things so that they would be extolled as if they were a deity, a god, we also find out that they were oppressing mankind. And this is something that's essential when you understand how Yah's children are treated throughout the earth. We are oppressed throughout the earth. Who is it that's oppressing us? What bloodline is oppressing us? Did their bloodline die out, or is their bloodline still living? Many of the royal families, the monarchs who we know oppressed our people, like the British royal family, like the French, like the Belgians, all of them, you find out that their claim to the throne is having bloodlines that will go directly to the Nephilim or the Watchers. So this tyrannical spirit that has been really ruling over our people, it's not by happenstance that this is what their offspring did. Their offspring were ruling over mankind, were oppressing mankind to allow them to reign as if they were gods. So that should let you know that what they want is not something that's good for us. That should be emphasized. They might say that they want something good for humanity, and that's what you constantly hear from people who have had abductions, that they want to help us, they want to do well by us. No, they want to give us things because they want to be praised as deities. And not only do they want to be praised as deities, they want to rule over man. That's what they've always wanted. So if you remember, in Revelations 13:44, this is another clue where you can see, again, Lucifer, who's the head of the Watchers. What did he want? He wanted to be praised as if he was Yah, and he gets to have this for a season of time. It says, Revelations 13:44, they worshiped the dragon because he gave his authority to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, and who is able to wage war with him? That's another goal. They want to be praised, and they want for Lucifer to ultimately be praised. They are fine sharing the limelight with him. They are fine having their polytheistic religion where they have different gods and then a head god who is going to be Lucifer. So just from that, what do we know about the Watchers? Again, they want to be worshipped. We know that they want to oppress through their seed. They want to oppress us. And we also know that they want us to worship Lucifer. Obviously, they have sexual desires for humans. These are the things that we are seeing. Now, how do we know that this is their agenda as far as what we encounter with them? Let's read through 2 articles of people giving details of some of the things people have experienced with these beings. So first article, space aliens are breeding with humans, says a university instructor. Maybe you've never seen any space aliens, but recent polls indicate up to 6% of Americans claim to have been abducted by them, which is pretty significant. The experience doesn't sound pleasant. The extraterrestrials are often said to have taken their captives to their saucers, lay them out on a table, and extract sperm from the man and impregnate the woman. If you're familiar with UFO lore, you know there are a couple of common explanations for these breeding experiments. One is the aliens are in a reproductive bind on their home world. That's not it, by the way. They can no longer successfully procreate and have come to Earth to use humans as incubators to spawn alien offspring. The other is that aliens are reproducing hybrid beings that will somehow help them take over our planet. That one, I believe, is the truth. Scientists, of course, are dubious of such claims. After all, there's never been any good evidence that the abductions are taking place No one ever seems to bring along cell phone footage. Why would they allow a cell phone on a spaceship? I don't know. Instructor at the University of Oxford in England believes that the abductions are real. Young Hae Chi, who teaches Korean at the university and also claims to know that what the aliens have in mind. In lectures given at the university, he says they're creating alien human hybrids as a hedge against, wait for it, climate change. To support this unorthodox theory, Chi notes that for several decades, the number of reported alien abductions have risen. He bases his statement on the work of David Jacobs, a retired Temple University historian who has published several books of ufology and who runs the International Center on Abduction Research. Jacobs has interviewed more than 1,000 people who have claimed to have been abducted using hypnotic regression that apparently allows them to recall their unearthly encounters with aliens. I do want to emphasize something about this hypnosis. So that there are different ways that people have been able to encounter watchers. Some have encountered them from meditating. In this case, hypnosis, that's one way. Another way is drugs, certain drugs like DMT. Those drugs are known to put people in states where they encounter these beings. So there are different ways that they know how to do this. And this goes back to what we learned in Enoch. Again, what did they use to teach people? They used the sorcery. That's how people are able to encounter them. Many interesting videos online where you see people who are actually able to conjure these things up through sorcery. So using hypnotic regression, it apparently allows them to recall their unearthly encounters with aliens. It says that Chi makes the claim that at face value and links the growing number of abductees cataloged by Jacobs to an increase in atmospheric greenhouse gases. He doesn't imply a cause and effect. The abduction experiment is not responsible for global warming. Rather, it's a reaction. The extraterrestrials are producing hybrids that can better withstand the rigors of a terrestrial planet by producing a new model of Homo sapiens. This project would eliminate the need for difficult climate accords or elaborate geoengineering projects. It would also help the aliens themselves, who said to be living among us, by preserving their DNA. Now, again, that's not true, clearly. I wanted to use that article because that actually is something that a lot of people believe is that they want to help us prevent.
Let's end that there. Yeah, that was a little bit uncomfortable for me. First, the religious zealotry, and then tying that in with aliens is some. Isn't there a black guy in this? I guess you could call the conscious space on YouTube. Isn't there a black guy who's running a grift about aliens and owning alien artifacts and building underground cities and stuff like that? If any of you know the name of that guy, just shout it out. There's a guy doing some Billy something, I think is his name, doing some real weird stuff like that. And I'm surprised with this sister because I didn't know she was on this religion and all this type of stuff. So it's very, 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 very strange. Kevin Carey, what say you to what you just witnessed there?
I couldn't, thank God I had my mic muted. I couldn't help but laugh at this. I mean, I just don't know what to say. I mean, where does she get her that good weed she's smoking, man? She just lost me after a while, man. It just sounded like blabber after a while. I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? And you're right, all this Book of Enoch and all this, it just turned me off, man. Like, yo, what? How come these aliens haven't kidnapped me yet? You know, I've not been violated by these aliens. Have you? I really don't know how to explain this, so I'm gonna have to pass the mic here to the rest of the group.
Thank you for that, but don't put me in that. I ain't trying to be probed by no alien. But this shit is wild. Yeah, KW7 and Marcus McGee, shout out to them. They both gave me the name Billy Carson. That's the guy who's doing his foolishness these days. Black Steel. I see they were associating her socialism or being a socialist with you.
Hey man, please leave the good name of socialism out of this conversation, please. This lady. So I believe it was Voltaire who said, if you can be made to believe absurdities, you can be made to commit atrocities. So this, much of what she's saying is absurd. But this is what happens when you take a book like the Bible, you take religious scriptures as, actual history, actual science. You have to divorce yourself from reality to create these scenarios. And then it's funny to me how she's created this whole mythology behind fallen ones and Anunnaki, and they're trying to fight climate change because you're not dealing with reality. Because when you deal with reality, you have to come up with solutions rooted in reality. We're not oppressed because of aliens. We are oppressed because we are out organized and we're not combating the real issues in our society. It's not no aliens. It's not no Anunnaki. She's talking about ruling families like the king and queen of England, all that other nonsense. These people don't have any type of magical power. There's no type of ancient technology. I've seen Stargate. I've seen all those movies. We have to be able to separate reality from fiction. And I think that is the reason why religion is so dangerous, because it only takes a little push till you end up like this. So it's really concerning that this woman is I'm assuming she has some type of she has some type of following, but it really just seems that she's taken this religion wholeheartedly. She swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. So she's looking for solutions in a book that was made over hundreds of years by dozens of authors, all type of different historical periods. It contradicts themselves. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she was a flat earther, because it does say in the Bible, the earth does not move. It sits on 4 pillars. So I'm pretty sure she's probably a flat earther on top of that. She probably believes in a full 7-day creation. The world was made in 7 days, 24-hour periods. There was a Garden of Eden where you put 2 men and 2 women in a magical garden with talking animals and magical fruit. And, it's the whole reason women suffer. It's ridiculous when you look at it from a thinking mind. But that is what religion provokes. And it is very deliberate, too, that this type of indoctrination is pushed among African people, because we look for solutions in the supernatural. We're willing to suffer in this life with the hope that we're going to have a better life in the world to come. So we have to wait until we die to where we start to see some real solutions. So this is nonsense. Old girl might be too far gone, I'm not into, some people like that whole kinky stuff, aliens probing you in your asshole. I don't get down like that. But yeah, she's watched too many sci-fi movies. But this religion is so harmful. We have to really be careful about it. And anything given to you by your enemies is not going to be for you. We all, I hear these religious people talk about how Christianity was in Africa, but they're Baptists and they're Methodists and they're Episcopalians and Catholic. These Christian denominations they belong to originate in Europe, but yet they're sitting here and say Christianity started in Africa. We gotta put the make believe behind us. I've said too much. I'll go ahead and
Nah, you're good, Carl. You're good. You're good. You said just the right types of things. Brother Bakari, I see you trying to get on, but it's saying that your device is not connected. So pop on and come back on. All right, there's space up here for you to join. This sister, I remember she used to be heavy on Twitter, and for some reason, I don't see anything from her. I don't know if I blocked her or something, but I never knew that she was so heavily Christian. KW Dawn says she was always a Christian. I didn't know that. It's weird, but the thing about that religion, to Carl's point, that stuff forces you to have to fit it into all types of, and like to make that work. make that work. Yeah, to make that work, you have to. Yeah, to make that work, you have to. Hold on, someone's giving me feedback. Who is that? Yeah, to make that work, you have to go through so many, jump through so many hoops. And one thing in the Bible, it says, "In the abundance of water, the fool thirsts." And I always wonder, how come more people of those Abrahamic faith, particularly Christianity, how many people read that and never question the shit that they supposedly so staunch in believing? It's weird. It's weird, and with all this evidence in the world, the earth is not set on four pillars, right? The concept of a day wasn't around when it said this guy took 7 days, 6 days, and on the 7th day. It's just weird. It's weird. It's weird. I wish our people would really shake that shit off of them. But I've said too much now. Let me go to Buana. Buana, what say you?
Let me first say that African Esquire, from the time I've been listening to her, I may not agree with her positions on the political side of the game, economic side of the game, but I always thought that she was a brilliant sister, and I can't take that away from her. But I love my Pan-Africanist brothers and sisters. People who have, even the Christian ones and the Muslim ones, the socialist ones, all the ones who I may not agree with, I love them. I respect them and I love them and I honor them. But what I would tell them is to stay with the pain. Stay with the pain. Don't go away from the pain. And what I mean by that is, some of our brothers and sisters on a Pan-Africanist point of view, they tend to go off into the spiritual realm. They want to escape their pain of reality. The pain of reality, because life sometimes can be difficult. And our situations may seem insurmountable. So for some of us, where our issues would seem so insurmountable, they tend to go off into the spiritual realm. I call it escapism. But I say, stay with the pain, deal with the reality, and try to solve the real problems that is befalling people who look just like me and you. Because if you go into the fantasy realm, all you are doing is putting shit on shit. You know what I mean? I just think that we need to be able to deal with the pain in the natural world, in the real world. And I think that some of us too much, we go for the trick of escapism with spirituality and all manner of nonsense. And this is just another form of it. This is just another form of it. It's sad to know that such a brilliant sister could, go off into these kinds of ideas and thinking, but there's many of us like that. And we left that. That's something that we leave. We leave that behind with our grandmothers and dads and uncles and granddads. This is the next generation. This is the next iteration. And I think that we should get away from the escapism that they fell into and move forward, looking at the real world and try to solve the natural world's problems rather than resorting to escapism. So I would suggest that we should stay with the pain until we resolve what is ailing us in the real world. And even though I could be taking shots at her, but she ain't no different from my mommy, them who believe that a white man gonna come out of the sky one day. You know what I mean? So I mean, how could I get them? Our grandmothers, them, they die believing that they going to live in some palatial place when they cross over and transition. So I say to my brothers and sisters who have our particular view and Brian, to stay with the pain and deal with the real world's problems and issues at a natural world. Because there is a blessing in that, in dealing with what is befalling you currently as you exist right now. Don't go off into the escape world. So I'll stop there just to be brief.
Appreciate it, Buana. I will say though that I think just because our recent ancestors did a thing doesn't mean that we have to continue it. And I think because we have that soft spot in us for our grannies and what have you, grandfathers and whatnot, we kind of let certain things ride. But at some point, we have to stand up and and face this thing and challenge it, I think, and push back. I mean, some of us are already, but I think we shouldn't give it a pass just because of sentimentality, you know? Let's welcome in Brother Bakari. Bakari, I was going to text you today. I haven't seen you in a minute. I was going to check in to see if you was good. How are you this week?
Oh man, everything is everything. How y'all doing on the panel?
I'm good, man.
What's up, Uncle D? What's up?
What's going
up, man?
on,
Greetings,
man? Hey, look, man. I just saw an Anunnaki mowing my neighbor's yard. Looked like a Mexican though. That's the alien I see. Look, man. I used to watch this sister. I used to listen to her sometimes. She has some good stuff, but man, we got to get past this Anunnaki stuff. Look, it is so crazy, right? When we get on this alien stuff, and a lot of us, we don't even understand. They talk about all those aliens to take away what black folks have done. I was talking to one of my friends, and she's a diehard believer in this ish. And I asked her, I said, who built the Great Wall of China? The Chinese. I said, so who built the Leaning Tower of Pisa? Wherever the hell they're at. The people over there. So then I say, so who built the pyramids in Egypt? The Anunnaki, the ancient aliens. I'm like, God damn. Pardon me, I'm sorry about that. I'm like, so what you saying is the Chinese can build, white people can build. I say, who built these mud huts who built these pyramids and these mounds over here? The Native Americans. I said, so the Native Americans can build. But when it comes to black people, anything that we have done, an alien, something you have never seen, anything can get the credit except us. It gets funny to me. And I know the religious thing that we talk about, but one thing that I learned, like, I don't care if they have a religion or not, if they talk to me. And I heard what Coco just said. We have a soft spot for our parents and granny and whatnot. But has anyone ever sat down and talked to their parents? I had older parents. Most people my age, their parents not old as mine, but I'm 51. But y'all ever sat down and talked to any of y'all parents or any of the older people in your family about Christianity? And I did. It was one thing that I learned when I would ask my mama certain questions. I knew my daddy didn't believe it the way most people did. But later on in life, when I got a little older, I would ask my mama. And then I realized she truly didn't. She went to church. She believed in Jesus, but she truly didn't believe in all of that stuff. When we sat down and hold these conversations, and when I would ask, it's a lot of stuff in that book that, and I'm just speaking from my personal experience, that she just didn't agree with, right? And when we talk and we say Christianity was beat on us, yes, majority of us in this country was. But do y'all know who Juan Garrido is? If you study Juan Garrido, Christianity was not beat into all Africans. That's a mental problem that black people have. We just believe anything spiritual. We believe that stuff. Juan Garrido came here around 1500 with the Portuguese. That's who brought wheat to Mexico. He was not a slave. He was a seller. He brought his troops here with him with the Portuguese troops. They conquered Mexico. They taught the Mexicans how to yield wheat. But Juan Garrido was his Christian name. He chose Christianity. He gave up his African spiritual belief and he chose Christianity. It wasn't beat. It wasn't beat in people like him. They were just able, they were just convinced. Somebody was able to convince them that their God was more powerful than his God. So he chose that. And he traveled with them. And he joined his military. Like I said, he helped conquer. He helped the Portuguese conquer Mexico. Took land from the native Mexicans. And then the Portuguese got mad with him because he didn't enslave Mexicans. When he got his part of the land, you know, he brought the Mexicans in and told them that he didn't enslave them. But that's not the point. The point is nobody beat it in him. So I think some of our people, maybe, I know during slavery, I know what happened during slavery, but the way it got there, people coming with their missionaries, was it actually beaten to us, or can we, or should we start to look in the mirror? Because today we're easily tricked. Today we're easily tricked. Just look at the hustlers and scammers on social media. People can say something that sound good or feel good to black people, and you will find black people just getting all on board something that they'll and don't have to do no work. They're not accountable, right? So with that being said, like I agree with what Matron just put in that chat. Religion is an economy organizing tool. And yes, we don't use it properly, and we should. But the alien thing, the Anunnaki, that's just crazy to me, man. She's the Christian slash Hebrew slash alien follower slash socialist. She's all she's all of the stuff that Bawana would say is wrong. I get it, right?
I appreciate that, Bakari. I like this comment Trigger dropped. Conversion can be through direct and indirect means, all a means of power. Yeah, I think some of our people did choose to give up, African spirituality because, there's also this thing called mass and peer pressure, and other people have made the switch. Maybe there's something to it, and I think a lot of us probably did that as well. Thanks for that, Bakari.
Can I say something right quick? You just said peer pressure. Please give me 2.5 seconds or 2.75 seconds. Dr. King, if you read what he wrote in school, his paper he wrote in school, the only reason Martin Luther King became a Christian was basically out of peer pressure. Martin Luther King wrote he didn't believe that stuff. If you go back and you can read his dissertation in college, he talked about how he didn't believe that, but his daddy was a preacher, his mom and dad believed, his sister and his brothers, they believed, and he was the only one that didn't. And he didn't want to be the only one that didn't. He said that's the only reason. That's the only reason he became one. So I just wanted to say that because when you mentioned peer pressure.
Yeah,
I wanna add to that too. Also, what Brother Bakari said. Another reason a lot of our people converted to Christianity is, remember now, the laws in the British colonies made it illegal for us to practice our religions. So if that had not happened, you would see more of religion, African spirituality still being practiced through the British colonies. I think that the Code Noir was in the French colonies, but that's neither here nor there.
Thank you for that, Juana. I think that leaves us with Oni, right? Oni, what say you to everything you've seen and heard?
Man, that sounds some crazy stuff. I don't know where. I don't understand. Now, granted, I'm not trying to say nothing about nobody's wife. You know what I'm saying? Just in case I'm walking through Ghana one day. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. But that's like I'm at a loss for words. So this is a famous, not famous, but pretty well known socialist. We Charge Colonialism is a pretty big site. I'm starting to think Black Steel is a native alien hybrid. Because she was talking about how the aliens bred with people, and created people that would deny them and doubt them. But for real though, actually, I agree with what Black Steel said about when you could believe in absurdities, you can commit atrocities. This is why, I can't mess with religion. I cannot mess with the religions. I'm currently like I currently am, looking into the religions and spiritual systems, and I do think they're diametrically different. I do think they're diametrically different. I think this thing is pseudoscientific scamming. I think most of the religions are pseudoscientific scamming. I agree with Brother Bakari in that, some people make good of bad. You know what I mean? But like, I think that's I think there's a lot of bad things that people make good of. Like politics, they make good of it. Gangsters, they make good of it. Whatever. But at the end of the day, I think that these religions are like, they're always ridiculous. She just puts the ridiculous front and center. I think I said it today, but I think the premise of these religions are that there are some people who can contact aliens and they can contract with these aliens. And if you do not give them your money, if you don't give them 10% of your income, right, as tithes, then these aliens will burn you in your afterlife. Like that's really the premise of religion, but we don't say it like that. We say, oh, God, and so it's different. But you're like, well, is God from Earth? No. So that if God's not from Earth, this God isn't. If this God is not from Earth, this God is an extraterrestrial, right? And what's an extraterrestrial? You know what I mean? So, and then it's like, why is somebody burning you after you die? You know what I mean? Like that's not the right time for you to be burned. But that's the insanity that's global. That's the insanity that's global. And it leads to just a bunch of ridiculousness, because I think you have to dismiss astronomy. You have to dismiss biology. You have to be pseudoscientific. And when you're pseudoscientific, you end up with this kind of well, yeah, that's not really how aliens work. They're not really. And it's like, no, there's no extraterrestrials. You know what I mean? Like, there's no extraterrestrials that you can communicate with by closing your eyes and thinking. It's craziness. So I think, and I mean, I guess we did have this conversation last week, right? But I think we have to, we have to come to terms with this is where people are going. And sure, you can do a lot of good things on this earth while not understanding science. That's fine. But I think it's better to understand science. And I'm going to contrast this with African spiritual systems. When you look at African spiritual systems, they actually were scientific. You know what I mean? It seems more like anthropomorphizations of scientific principles than it was just random googok. Oh, I talked to aliens. And I'm not saying that nobody believed that that prayer could work, because I know I have an example of Taharka giving a prayer, but for the most part, like, it was pretty scientific. That's all I'm saying.
I appreciate that, Oni. Does anyone want to add any last thoughts to this prompt?
Yeah, I want to say one thing really quickly. As conditions get worse, you're going to see more of this. As the environment, as the economy starts to get worse and worse, you're going to see more people start to lean into the supernatural. Religion is the opiate of the masses. So a lot of people are going to start overdosing on this type of stuff. No, Brother Bakari, not a bigger form of Christianity.
Socialism. Oh, that was just to mess with you, Brother Steve. Black Steve. But I think a lot of people choose it, especially today, after slavery, when Black people really start getting into it. Shit, for some of them, that was their way. They was hoping somebody was gonna come down and fight their battle, because they couldn't. And when I say couldn't, they couldn't because it was illegal for them to get weapons or whatever. So they were put in a position to believe that Jesus would come down and save you. And yeah, they're gonna burn you if you go to hell. But on the flip side of that, with what our ancestors went through slavery, And after slavery, Jim Crow, and all that, they were like, somewhere got to be better than this. So yeah, they was hoping they go to heaven because they was hoping for something better. Yeah, it sounds crazy when you say it and you think about it that people still believe that. But in a sense, you find black people today still hoping for something better. It's hard being black in this world. And I'll say especially this country, because this is the country I live in. If you find the two black people in Sweden or Norway, they probably would say the same thing. You understand? The 24 black people in Russia would say the same thing because it's hard being black in this world. So black people is hoping for something better. But heaven is right here. I tell people heaven is Africa. And they ask me, how can I come to that conclusion? I say, well, when you read the Bible, the streets of heaven is paved with diamonds and gold. Shit, who got more diamonds and gold in Africa? That got to be what they were talking about when they said heaven, the streets. They got to be talking about Africa because ain't no streets up in the sky. He ain't talking about it paved with diamonds and gold. That's literally, ain't that Africa? They still got the diamonds, gold everywhere. Y'all remember the mountain they just found in the Congo, the mountain in Uganda with all the gold? We know about all the diamond mines. So I just say, Africa is actually heaven. And in all honesty, most of our people that's praying for heaven here in America, in the diaspora, we actually ignores heaven for something in the sky when you die. And on that note, socialism needs to relax.
Black Steel. I want to swan to Black Steel for a minute. Black Steel in the South. He in Florida. Black Steel he knows about third degree hurricanes. When you get a hurricane coming at your face, you can't pray that away. You can't hope it go past you. It's gonna hit you. And you gotta prepare for that shit. You gotta batten down the hatches and you gotta prepare for it. In fact, after it passes, you can't pray for the cleanup either. You gotta get out the hammer, you gotta get out the nails, and you gotta fix what's decimated your society. It's the same kind of concept when you get enemies at your door front. You can't pray them away. They ain't going away. They ain't going away. You have to prepare for when they come, and you have to prepare for after they leave. You know what I mean? This praying something. I go ask the Haitians about praying that the earthquake don't hit them. Ask them why Jesus ain't help them with the earthquake. No, when it hit them, and the result was what the result was, and after the fact, they had to deal with the cleanup. No sky god or President Clinton or what they've been doing. No one is going to deal with that problem. They have to deal with that problem front and center, and so do we. And if we go into escapism, the mess could be right there after we done dance around the church, pray, have a good old time at the sanctuary. When we come back home, we're going to still meet a decimated house where we have to rebuild. So these are things that we have to actively prepare for as human beings on this planet. You know what I mean? I can't pray for someone who's outside of this planet to come and rescue me from my problems. So this is the issue that I have sometimes with the escapists. Stay with the pain. That's what I think.
I appreciate everything everyone said here, and I agree with Buana and Bakari about that pain thing. I think when you lose and lose badly, I think you start grasping at air, and I think the way forward is you have to show where African spirituality in modern day, under these conditions, where you have to show some wins with that spirituality, because that's what happens with the Christianity. I talked about that before on the podcast, that when you see Creflo Dollar and these guys with expensive cars and jets and all this kind of stuff, people who are in those faiths, they look at those guys and say, man, look at God. He's killing it because of this belief. When we have folks, particularly folks on the continent, who are staunch believers in some or a few or whatever African spiritualities, and we're changing the conditions, like Keta said right there in that comment. When we start changing those conditions, and the person or the persons who are at the forefront of that change are attributing their actions and their abilities to African spirituality, that's when you're going to change this shit. You know what I mean? That's when people are going to say, you know what? Maybe there's something to this stuff. You know, and I hope that day comes sooner rather than later. Is there any other last thoughts on this prompt? All right. Let's go to shoot the breeze topic to number 2. That was a real good discussion from everyone there. Shoot the breeze topic number 2 is it says, is this the real reason Americans are so good at sports today? This came with a link taking us to Twitter. Or X, or whatever the fuck this thing is called now. So there's this tweet from Joy D'Angela. She's coming up in the sports world, it seems, too. The caption says, Rick Barry goes on epic rant about his era versus today's era. So it's a minute and a half. I'll play it twice, and then we'll discuss it.
This generation get very, very disrespectful when it comes to, that era. And they always say, like, oh, well, Wilt Chamberlain, even if this generation get very, very disrespectful when it comes to, that era. And they always say, like, oh, well, Wilt Chamberlain, even if he did put up 100, it was against plumbers.
But they have, no, please, the plumbers. Are you kidding me? They had so many great centers back in those. They hardly have centers. The guys that are centers now, they're not centers. I mean, they play on the wing. They're all wanting to shoot 3-point shots. I mean, they don't block shots. They don't protect the rim. It's a different game. People don't understand. I've had many people say, well, Rick, you guys wouldn't be able to play with these guys today. I said, okay, what drugs are you on? Okay, because you got a problem. Because if you really understood the game and you really knew what the difference was between when we played and the guys playing here, we had nothing to help us. I didn't have an agility coach. I didn't have a dietitian. I didn't travel on charter planes so that we could get a good night's sleep and get to the next city and have a nice day. We drove ourselves around in rental cars. I mean, we had $8 a day per diem. These guys get chartered food on their planes. We didn't have whirlpools, and we didn't have saunas, and we didn't have masseuses, and we didn't have any of that. If I played today, I would be faster. And I was pretty fast, okay, and quick. I'd be faster, stronger, quicker, more endurance, jump higher. I would be so much better a basketball player because I had none of those things available to me. It's absolutely crazy how much better the guys that I played with, the Oscar Robertsons, the Jerry West, all of us, as good as we were, would be even greater playing today.
Wow. This generation get very, very disrespectful when it comes to, that era. And they always say, like, oh, well, Wilt Chamberlain, even if he did put up 100, it was against plumbers.
But they have, no, please, the plumbers. Are you kidding me? They had so many great centers back in those. They hardly have centers. The guys that are centers now, they're not centers. I mean, they play on the wing. They're all wanting to shoot 3-point shots. I mean, they don't block shots. They don't protect the rim. It's a different game. People don't understand. I've had many people say, well, Rick, you guys wouldn't be able to play with these guys today. I said, okay, what drugs are you on? Okay, because you got a problem. Because if you really understood the game and you really knew what the difference was between when we played and the guys playing here, we had nothing to help us. I didn't have an agility coach. I didn't have a dietitian. I didn't travel on charter planes so that we could get a good night's sleep and get to the next city and have a nice day. We drove ourselves around in rental cars. I mean, we had $8 a day per diem. These guys get chartered food on their planes. We didn't have whirlpools, and we didn't have saunas, and we didn't have masseuses, and we didn't have any of that. If I played today, I would be faster. And I was pretty fast, okay, and quick. I'd be faster, stronger, quicker, more endurance, jump higher. I would be so much better a basketball player because I had none of those things available to me. It's absolutely crazy how much better the guys that I played with, the Oscar Robertsons, the Jerry West, all of us, as good as we were, would be even greater playing today.
Wow.
All right. By the way, let me shout out Sister Raw, who's out there in the chat. To the last problem, she said all religions are bogus. Understand? Trigger Happy in that last problem said, I advocate that we marry African spirituality, African orientation with Pan-African nationalism. I agree with that too. So is this the real reason? Should we start with number 2? Is this the real reason Americans are so good at sports today? I saw this, and I agree with this white guy. Those, and I know a lot of folks don't like sports conversations, so bear with us for a minute, because there is a lesson in this thing too. The reason why America is so good at not just sports or various things, even like war, it's because they put the money into it. They put the research and development into it. They could boast about having the best basketball players, because y'all put crazy effort into this thing called basketball or football or what have you. So I agree with him. Side note, I think this conversation was in response to former NBA player Gilbert Arenas, who has a podcast who's been making the rounds, and I think he may have the #1 podcast in sports. And, he spends a lot of time dissing the 80s guys. But the thing that these guys don't realize is that those who came along, let's say those who came along in the 2010s, right? They were inspired by the generation before them, who was inspired by the generation before that. It's like a big brother and a little brother playing basketball. The big brother's gonna do all kind of different moves and score the ball that the little brother can't do. But here's the thing: the little brother's gonna work on it, become better, and is going to be better at those moves by the time he gets to the age that the big brother was practicing those moves on him. That's just the nature of the beast. The reality of it is, the rest of us, like particularly black nations, we don't have the facilities. Juana, from the same place I'm from. If you give those youth the facilities, the workout regimens, the food, this, that, and the other, you'd have more folks from like the Caribbean, from Africa, who could excel even more if they had that, those things. So that's a big part of the reason why it's not happening. But shout out to the Bahamas, by the way. The Bahamas was trending. We blew out who was Argentina? Was it Cuba or Argentina or both? In FIBA basketball recently, led by DeAndre Ayton, an NBA player. What's my man name? Eric Gordon, whose mother was a Bahamian, and Buddy Hield, right? So shout out to them, by the way. Anyway, I digress. Kevin Conray, what say you to what this NBA legend had to say?
Well, the other thing too we got to look at, besides the technology, is that the game evolved too. The rules change. If you compare the 70s to the 80s, the 70s was very rough. 80s was rough, but over time it got better and better. Another example, I don't mean to change sports, but if you look at NFL in the 50s, there was virtually no rule. It was like the Roman Coliseum, But time changed, people change, rules change. You can't keep doing the same thing over. Like I said, up to a certain point in the 80s, there was no 3-point line in the NBA. They put it in for more excitement. Things evolve, not just in sports, but in life. As I said, you can't keep doing the same thing. Like look how the world kind of caught up with the United States a little bit, compared to that 1992 Dream Team that was blowing out everyone. A lot of those teams has caught up, but as I said, with each generation that comes, they bring something new to the game. Same with our ancestors. From the time from ancient time to now, you can't keep living the same way you were living 1,000 years, ago, and bring it to today. It's not going to work out for you. You got to change up. But I'll pass the mic here.
I appreciate it. I agree with what you said too. Yeah, that's things change, man, and people benefit oftentimes from those changes. You know, that's real. Black Steel, what say you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Real quick, Kwame. I mean, cool. I'm sorry. Real quick. Think about when you have a program, right? Like what you call it? If you have a program, you always got to update it because there's always gonna be a new vulnerability that someone discovers. So you always gotta evolve.
Right. Black Steel, what say you?
Well, I think that the dude has a point. If you have the ability to invest in your players, then you're going to see better results. Now, with that said, there are situations where other countries might not have the best facilities, and yet look at when you have like marathons and long distance running. You have many African and Caribbean countries that dominate these sports without the best facilities and the best nutritionists and all the other stuff. But so sometimes that's not always the case. But I do think that over time things do evolve, things get better. I do think he has a point to that. But America isn't always the best at sports. They get blown out in the World Cup most of the time. So we see this happen all the time. We had basketball teams go to the Olympics. Our athletes, the American athletes, don't always do well. And most of the time, it's the Black athletes who are really bringing home these gold medals and winning these championships. I think it was the Nazi minister of propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, who said that American Olympic performance comes from Negro sweat, and this was a German saying. It's back in the 1930s. So it's really what we contribute to sports that is allowing us to America to get ahead. If every Black person was to stop, America would nowhere be where they need to be at. So I'll leave it there. I'll pass the mic on to the next quote. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. Marcus McGee in the chat said it's the whites that had to catch up. The Africans are naturally athletic. They studied us and developed training plans based on that. Now they can run and jump like us. Yeah, as far as the Caribbean and like Usain Bolt and them, those guys was training in America to be fair. They had natural talent. They were training out here. Same thing with like any Caribbean basketball player. When you look deep down, they're training in the U.S. because again the facilities are here. But I digress. Let me hear from Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, what's you?
Well, for me, I would say I don't agree with him because what he was saying basically was the reason when he said great centers back then, he trying to say the white centers back then when Wilt Chamberlain was playing was as good as Shaq than the ones that came after Shaq, like Dwight Howard. That's what he was saying. Now I do agree when he was saying they put more into it, right? And they do put more into it because they had to wait to see if it was gonna grow. But I don't think those players would have been. Just look and see who they was playing against. Look and see how many Black people was on that court. You understand? So then you will see. Now, when it comes to Black people being more athletic, when I say this, it offends people. Jimmy the Greek said it a long time ago. Now, I found out he said it, but I thought this, but he shouldn't have said that. White boy had no business saying this on TV. Should nobody say this, but I'm just going to be honest. Man, they bred us like animals. And if people don't want to admit that and say, that's why a lot of Black people here is more athletic, bigger, stronger, and faster, and can do things, run faster, jump high, play basketball, football better, majority of the time than our brothers and sisters on the continent. It's not just the facilities. It's also how we were bred. They were breeding for something bigger, faster, and stronger. Who could pick more cotton? Who could pick more tobacco? Who could lift more stuff? And I'm not saying that's the only reason, but that is, in my opinion, that's a part of the reason. I don't know if y'all ever bred any animals or not. Like, you can breed for certain things, right? I was a licensed pit bull breeder, right? I was a game dog breeder. You can breed for mouth. You can breed for stamina. You can breed for strength. Then you can help create some of that stuff. So what they did to us, the athleticism and all that, what they see, a lot of that was their creations, because if we're honest, came from what they created. Because honesty, if you look at our brothers and sisters, most of the time for the continent, they're not as athletic as African Americans. But then on the flip side of that, and see, then we focus on this is our focus here, African Americans. So, but then when they come here, they are most of the time better educated because that's what they focus on. But as far as what this white dude is saying, he was trying to compare them white people playing way back then. Way back then, it's good. Now, what he's saying, ain't no real centers today. Ain't nobody blocking shots. Shit, when he was playing, look, think about it, man. When they were talking about how many championships Bill Russell won, go look and see how many black people was on the team. Go look and see how many Bill Russell people that those folks were playing against. That was his height and size. I'm just saying. So a lot of these people today would be, I think, would be able to do the same thing. That's just what I think. I hear the mic.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on, and thank you for that, Bakari. I didn't pick up on him necessarily saying the white boy cells be better than the guys today or better than Shaq and them. But you did say something that is true. When Bill Russell and them was playing, there was like what six or eight teams in the league. And most of those teams was white boys. So, I'm not trying to diminish him, but he was an undersized center who could run the floor, and could jump out to the gym. That's pretty much what he was. He would have to play a different kind of game. In fact, I remember one time, this is when Shaq and the Lakers were winning championships. And they had Bill Russell out there, and they was like, how would you stop Shaq? And Bill starts talking. And I'm like, Bill, stop that, but you cannot stop Shaq. Like, no one could stop Shaq, but I digress. Who did I not get to here? Let me hear from Buana. Buana, what's it?
Yeah, so my statement is this. The world knows, and everybody knows the real power in America resides with the black man, the black American man, whether through physical activity, whether through creative activity. They have proven that time and time again. Even, and I'll even go so far as to say this. The real intellectual power in America is with the black man. The only problem, because, and I could back up my statements, if you study all the innovations and patents, you would see the daily functioning or who created such and such in America. Find out who created these things. The only problem is the black man in America don't know he is the real power in America. He ain't finding that out yet. He thinks that his power resides in his legs and his arms, his physical abilities, or his creative abilities. And I think that he has not been convinced yet that his intellectual capacity is another dominant force in America. Big time. And I think that is what's really, it's not as being ignored. I don't think that it's not necessarily being put out there in Front Street and displayed like it should be, where you have, just like you have hundreds of Negroes out here trying to get to the NBA, hundreds of Negroes out here who trying to put their patents and innovations and inventions out there to the marketplace to sell to the rest of the world. I don't think that that's. I think there was a. Well, I'm gonna go into that. I think that that is the real truth. I think that is the truth, and it's not. And I ain't taking nothing off of me either to say that, because there is black talent all over the world, undiscovered talent. But when you're in America, there's a sounding board, because they have such a large microphone, everyone knows it. When Usain Bolt and Brother Bakari made a valid statement when he talked about breeding, because breeding happened in the Caribbean as well. So when people like Usain Bolt and all them Jamaican girls been doing what they've been doing in the Olympics, people have their mouths open. It's like, how is this happening? These guys don't have the facilities to be able to create these kinds of situations. And like Koku say, they've been trained in America. Some people have natural talent. Some people have been breeding away. And also, when you deal with American sports, the Africans and Americans dominate. When you deal with sports like football and soccer, the Africans from the continent dominate, or Brazil, they dominate. But I just think that that's just one facet of our brilliance. I think it extends beyond that, way beyond that. I don't think that the black man in the Western Hemisphere has discovered himself yet, and he still buys into this belief that we are only able to get on front stage based off our physical talents or our creative talents, and it go far beyond that, far beyond that. But I don't think that we've been convinced of that as yet. That'll change, but I don't think that we've been convinced of that as yet. But everybody knows, that the real power that exists within America is the black man. Everybody, the world knows that. And the white power structure in America tries to convince the black man that his his energies and the things that he does is just wasted. Nobody really pays attention to it. He's just a court jester. But the world sees it differently. And I think that since the black man in America has decided to start going out in different parts of the world, he is seeing how he is appreciated in different ways. But I think this is just one aspect of our abilities. I would say this though. If I agree with this old man, if you put a person from back in the day to the league right now, I think that you would see the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, the Elgin Baylors, all these people dominating, because they coming from they had nothing. They don't have all these accoutrements that these athletes have today. So I think that their abilities would be much enhanced. Just as you say that if you take a slave from the plantation, if you take a slave from the plantation in the 1800s and you put him in 2022 and just leave him to do his thing, I think that he'll be a billionaire tomorrow, because he will be caught up with all the things that the 21st century Negro is going to be caught up with. He'll be so shocked that he have the ability to engage in all this access. I think that he would be a billionaire in a few years. I believe that. I think that where his ability was stifled back then, I think that because the doors would have been swung open in 2020, 2023, I think you will see a different kind of individual. But that's just me and how I look at it. I'll just stop there to be brief.
Appreciate that, Juana. Only you've heard everything everyone had to say. What say you?
Yeah, so I'm not really sure about this white guy. I kind of feel. I got an echo. Who's that? But yeah, I kind of feel like what Brother Bakari was saying, might be true. Like, because sometimes white people do that. They do say, "Oh, we're better at them." They just, I mean, I don't know, because it just would be kind of bold of him, but it's possible. And I kind of got distracted from the sister, I guess. But what I would say is, yeah, I think we tend to underestimate how much like American training plays a role, because obviously genetics is like genetics is it. Genetics, like you can be born in such a, like you can have the genetics where you will not be athletic, obviously, right? And obviously, there are some people who are going to be just better at something than you are, and not just that, sometimes people are going to like things more than you, I actually enrolled my son in a martial arts course for a bit. And like my son is not, he actually preferred running, Jamaican man, right? But he preferred running. But there was some kids there who were like, like they were a yellow belt, but they were, in their mind they were a blue belt. You know what I mean? That's just a reality. Some people take to sports, some people, but like the training program is really, really present in America, and the economic opportunity to make a lifelong living in athletics or in sports is really popular in America. You know what I mean? Like not just athletics, but entertainment. It is very popular in America. Like you can make a living as an entertainer in America much easier than you can make a living as an entertainer like in Africa. So as an athlete, like particularly like basketball, when we talk about Brazil, that sport that you can make a living off of is football, right? In Tanzania, there are football teams, but like you probably couldn't skirt out you wouldn't reliably count on your football skills to make a living in Tanzania. You know what I mean? It is very difficult. It's already difficult to make a living in Tanzania, period. It's just very unlikely. But in America, you have like scouting, you have things. So I think honestly, I would say that the people who are athletes today probably have much better genetics than the people who were athletes back in the day, right? All the same, just because the scouting is that much more intense, obviously the gene pool is that much wider. There's and then of course the the science behind selection is that much more precise. I don't know the height of people back in the day, but the basketball players today are just like huge, like tall, and like I said, they're from all sorts of socioeconomic backgrounds. In Africa, you might have to be you might have to be rich to be a part of a team. You know what I mean? Because nobody's going to pay for you. Nobody's going to sponsor you. In America, you could be broke, but you like the game enough that somebody's going to sponsor you. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think I don't think what he's saying is like completely factual, but I do recognize that what he's saying has some merit to it. In the sense of, yeah, the Americans tend to overinvest in sports, overinvest in entertainment, and all that kind of stuff. So all I would say is that I think that when it comes to genetics and running, like Ghanaians might actually be the fastest people, but nobody's paying Ghanaians to run. But the reason why I'm saying Ghanaians is not because a lot of us descend from Ghana, but because I think they actually did dominate the Olympics before America started dominating the Olympics. In terms of sprinting, so you would have had world-class runners in coming out of Ghana in the early Olympics, but then of course America develops these huge, intense athletic training centers and these athletic programs to where I tell you, like, I think there was a video circulating where this white girl ran a decent time for a white girl, but like if you saw her training, she went on this treadmill and she just started bolting it on a treadmill, and with a trainer beside her, and it's like that kind of a resource is not available to people in Africa. You know what I mean? It's not available, not to the way that the Americans have it, but they have the sciences and all that kind of stuff going on to it. So I think he outlined, yeah, you can be much improved by the Western system, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, like that's all I'm saying.
Someone's mic is open. I think that's Bakari. Kevin Curry had to drop off, but thanks for coming through, Kevin Curry. Appreciate seeing you. I think that's the overall thing to take from it too. America doesn't, have a lot of these things that they have going on by chance. These guys are actively pursuing these things and investing in these things, blah, blah, and recruiting too. You know, that's something we don't talk about a lot too. Like I said earlier, a lot of Caribbean, like these fast folks from the Caribbean, who you see in the Olympics, a lot of them are training in America. They've been brought to America to be in a track program at some university. You look at the NBA; these guys are sought after from Africa, the Embiid, from Cameroon, like the Embiids, Nigeria, like Giannis and all that kind of stuff. Like these guys are, you know, America goes after these people too. It's all a plan type of thing. Does anyone else want to add any last words here?
Yeah.
Yes, let me say something, right? Let me say something right quick, right? I'm gonna call for Bawana right quick on it. But anyway, see, when we were talking about that, and I know Koku said he didn't get that. What I was talking about when I was saying he was trying to put white people on a pedestal. Just think about it. He said when Wilt Chamberlain was playing. He said when Wilt Chamberlain was playing, then he said there was a lot of good centers back then. No the hell it wouldn't. But it wasn't no good guards either. Man, go look up the stats from some of them games. Wilt Chamberlain have about 15, 20 rebounds. Somebody else on his team will have about 13, 14 rebounds. Bill Russell have 15, 20 rebounds. Somebody else on his team have 10, 12 rebounds. They wouldn't make it any shots. But I'm gonna say this, right? When you were talking about facilities. Once again, those are the trinkets that white people can use to get black people to leave black people. We got this, and this is good. So we say facilities. I call them the same trinkets that our people fell for. Excuse me, that the same trinkets that our people fell for during slavery. And when I said about the Africans not as athletic, that was not me taking a shot. You know, you'll get your Antetokounmpo and you'll get your Olajuwons. Those two athletic, but then majority, you're going to get players like Luau Deng, who's good, but they just know how to play basketball. They don't have the pure athleticism, but they know how to play basketball, so they are good in basketball. Excuse me. For the most part, and like I see, you know, for me, like I said, part of it is what we focus on. A lot of African Americans, like Oni said, that's your way out. That's your way to have generational wealth. So we focus on athletics. A lot of brothers, sisters from the continent or other places, they come and they focus on other things. They focus on education. They focus on whatever skill they have, painting or something like that. So it's also what you focus on. So on that note, I'm done.
I agree with that, Brother Bakari. Quick statement. A quick statement for Brother Bakari. So following these brothers' logic, you know, if Muhammad Ali was in 2022, you all telling me, not Brother Bakari, but you all telling me that Tyson Fury would still be the world champion.
If Muhammad Ali was the same size in 2022 that he was in the 1960s, 6'2", 210 pounds, yes, he wouldn't be. But you know, they have some great steroids today too. So if we gonna put him in today's, we got to look at the steroid use, because I think everybody take them. Do I think Muhammad Ali? Yes. I think possibly Deontay Wilder beat Ali. Anthony Joshua beat Ali. That's just me. That's not taken away from Ali's greatness. But man, size make a difference, especially if you know how to use your size. Ali coming in at 215. Anthony Joshua, right now he has lost weight and he is small compared to what he used to be. He's 245 and he lay on Ali. Tyson Fury is 269, 270, 275, and he lay on Ali. Now I don't think they would be champ of Larry Holmes. I'm just clowning. But yeah, man,
Mike Tyson, 5'11". His
a bum.
His fighting weight was 210. So you telling me that he wouldn't be the champ at his zenith?
At Mike
He
Tyson's
wouldn't be the world champion right now.
At Mike Tyson's zenith, Mike Tyson's best. No, I don't think Mike Tyson. Ain't nobody ever heard me talk about how good Mike Tyson was. Mike Tyson is one of the biggest hype jobs in history, as far as I'm concerned. You'll never hear me talk about how good I think Mike Tyson was. I don't think Mike Tyson was that good. Mike Tyson came through a horrible era. A horrible era. That's my take on Mike Tyson. My take. Now, I ain't saying nobody got.
Wait, we switched from Mike Tyson. We switched from Muhammad Ali to Mike Tyson.
I don't agree with him on Muhammad Ali, and I don't agree with him on Mike Tyson. That's Brother Bakari opinion. I can leave it right there.
No, I mean, look, I can see that though. I think people do get gradually better. You know, I mean, not that gradually better, but like you're saying, if somebody could review all of these persons, like, because like we are building up from. How do you say it? It's like I guess in track it's more direct. Usain Bolt is faster than everybody before him. You know, it's just that much. And so you're saying, hey, if you put up the best runner from back in the day based off of back in the day training, like basically if you trained like somebody in 2000, in the year 2000, while you're in the year 2023, you're not going to compete with somebody from 2023.
I disagree with that completely. I think that Mike Tyson would be the champion of the world right now, and I also believe that if you was to put Tyson Fury in the ring with Muhammad Ali would beat the brakes off of Tyson Fury. Why? Because boxing is not only just physical.
Now I'm gonna say this: if you could put Ali in Anthony Joshua's size, 6'6", 240, they wouldn't beat him. But 6'3", 210, it won't be big enough, man. You know how much weight that is to give up that big man laying on you for 12 rounds? You 210, that man come into the fight. When he fought Deontay Wilder, the man was 280 pounds. And that big old man laying down on you for 12 rounds. Do you know how tired Ali? And that's all I'm saying. Ali in a different size. If Ali today, with everything they do today, yes, Ali could possibly be world champion. I wouldn't say Mike Tyson. I would say Ali. Yeah, Ali.
Brother Bakari. Jack Johnson them was fighting in the sun, going 12, 16 rounds. You know what I mean? So come on, bro. You don't think that Jack Johnson would be able to beat Tyson Fury? You talking about being tired?
No. Jack Johnson was considered huge and he weighed 190 pounds. He would be fighting cruiserweight. I'm gonna say it like this, man. Floyd Patterson fought back. When Floyd Patterson fought back then, right around Ali time, Ali came up right after him, right? They eventually fought. Floyd Patterson was heavyweight champion at 185 pounds. Do you really think these people 260, 250, you don't think they could just get inside and lay on them and wear those little people out? I'm saying, but if you could put their skills in a bigger size, then I would say those skills could win. But if I'm just saying, comparing to where the era they fought in, compared to this era, and you bring somebody, because I don't like to give white people no credit, so I ain't gonna say Tyson Fury. I'm gonna say Anthony Joshua. So you get Anthony Joshua, who's 6'6", 250, and you put him against someone 210 pounds. Do you think Anthony Joshua would have the ability to lay on them and wear them down? Now, I'm saying Anthony Joshua, he's a victim of horrible training. He's an anomaly, but him and Deontay Wilder, they're both anomalies. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're better boxers than Ali. None of them are good boxers as Ali. What I'm saying is the size would be the difference. The size would be the difference. That's all I'm saying. No, Tyson Fury is not as good a boxer as Ali, but Tyson Fury's size, being 6'9" and coming to that ring 280. Shit, one fight he came into the ring at 290. and he get close to Ali and lay on him. You know how tired Ali gonna be by that 6th round, that man laying on Ali neck? That's all I'm talking about. And I had to go back to him. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not saying he's more skillful than Ali. No, he's not more skillful. None of them more skillful than Ali or Larry Holmes, who's my favorite heavyweight. But I think the size in today's era and the steroids they have in today's era, because I believe all of them take something. That's just me personally. Like when y'all was saying the science today make the athlete better. The science today, they can take certain things, make them stronger, do all that, and all of that. If you just compare the era, I think this era, that don't mean they're better. That just mean because of the era, because of the size difference, and because of everything else, I just think that would give them an advantage. See, the guy just Marcus McGee just put George Foreman in the chat. George Foreman looked huge, right? He looked huge back then, right, Bawan?
Yeah, George Foreman was only like 6'4", 6'5".
But you know, and he only weighed 215. So now look how big he looked. He
No,
was
I hear what
going
you're
in.
saying. I hear what you're saying.
He was 215. Now just imagine, and look how George Foreman was just walking through everybody till he fought Ali. And Ali, he was dumb. But anyway, I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they better. That don't mean they're better than Ali. I just think this era, with the size and the steroids and all that, gonna get him the advantage. That's it.
I agree with something Bakari said there just now too. Is going back to Rick Barry's talking point. Those guys didn't have the recovery methodologies that these guys have. They didn't have the as good as surgeries when they got those injuries. They were playing back to back to back. These guys, so they complain about that. Now you don't really get back to backs anymore. So like, I think there's something to it. I think if you allow those guys to have that body management, I think there'll be a problem today. I still think Ali would be a problem today, but your points are good in the terms of a bigger man in boxing who could hold you and lean on you, put his weight on you. We saw that happen to Tyson back in the day with Holyfield. Like it will give him some problems. But then again, on the other side of it, with the medicines and the facilities, the training regimens, etc., I think Ali might be just fine. I need to move on to the next prompt. We could always bring a similar prompt back in the future to discuss it some more. But for time's sake, let me go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 tonight. Let me thank everyone who's in the chat tonight, who's communicating. Let me thank Kevin Carre, who was here. Also, let me thank Bakari for the super chat or the super sticker as well. Thank you for that. The support of KWAZ Radio, I appreciate that. I appreciate that for real. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 tonight is race first politics inherently a male trait? I thought that was an interesting prompt. This is going to take us to YouTube.
And I understand her because I also have a friend of mine who were talking in the girls group, and she was telling us about it, and another friend of ours also advised her. She's like, don't limit yourself to just the black man, because your soulmate could be white, even if they colonized you.
Oh my god. Oh my god,
It
she
could
had
be
to
white.
add that last bit.
Yeah,
Oh,
the whites colonized the black people. Some
Uh-huh.
people still don't understand interracial couples. You understand?
Yeah.
Because someone was saying, how can you still date your colonizers? But sometimes your soulmate could be in another race. I don't judge girls who date outside that race. I understand them because what are you going to do? You're going to be pushing 50 on your pro-black men? No. I mean, if you want to date outside, date outside. And last remarks would be, by the way, you dating another race doesn't mean that you may find love there also, because men will be men.
Yeah.
Black, white, red, green, whatever color it is they are, men will be men. Not to say you won't find love, but I'm just trying to tell you, don't think you only deciding to date white men will make life so much better. But personally, I am pro-black. Okay, I'll be pushing 50 with a black man. Inshallah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, guys, tell us what you think in the comment section.
It's your boy Neferkari Dessalines back in the building. Yes, indeed. And today we got to talk about black woman says your soulmate might be a white man, even if they colonize you. Let's get into it. Now, before we get started, I just want to say, dark skin shorty on the right, gorgeous as ever, Jonita, I love you, baby. If you get in that comment section, man, make yourself known, make yourself seen. And I liked how she cleaned it up at the end. She was like, listen, regardless of everything I just said, even though I just co-signed my girlfriends in the group chat talking nonsense, I'm rocking with the black man. So it is what it is. I'm not going to, go too hard on her for that. But we got to dissect that statement. We got to break it down to its smallest molecule. Now, one thing that all men must know, and I'm not just going to talk about black men in particular. We're going to talk about all men. One thing we should all keep in the back of our mind. This is something that our forefathers knew. This is something that our ancestors knew. This is something that, was common knowledge in ancient times. And today we might have forgot it. But in case you didn't know, concepts such as nationalism, concepts such as dying for the nation, concepts such as honoring and protecting the legacy of your ancestors has always been rooted within a masculine energy. Those are masculine things. That's why men raise up armies. That's why men conquer and defend territory. That's why men die on the battlefield. That's why men take pride in dying on the battlefield and take pride in our ancestors that died on the battlefield. These are masculine things. The things that men value, it's not the same things that women value. And this is something that all men must understand. This is something that men have understood since the beginning of time. And maybe up until recently, we might have forgot that. And I'm going to back this video up with historical references that are relevant to today, that you can kind of gather from, that women don't really, hold things like nationalism and other different concepts. You got to understand, bro, women are not sitting in the library, reading up on the ancestors, reading up on different battles that happened in the 16th century, reading up on this general that led his army into battle, in this territory. Women are not, they're not worried about that, bro. Like, women are worried about whole different things, and the things they worried about, we're not worried about. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you got to understand, this attitude is nothing new. You know what I mean? When she says your soulmate might be white, even if they colonize you, even if they, committed atrocities against you, you can still look past that, because you got to understand, this is nothing against them. Women are wired to look out for the best interests of themselves and their children. They are wired to look for the best opportunity for themselves and their children. And if that means that you got to click up with the enemy to get that done, it is what it is. Like I always mentioned before, on my video, I speak extensively about the Haitian Revolution. I'm like an encyclopedia for the Haitian Revolution. It's something that I've studied and been taught about since I was a very young boy, right? And one thing that you notice in the Haitian Revolution, what did the women do? Apart from the women that died on the battlefield with the men, like how Jonita said at the end, like she said, regardless, win or lose, how it goes, I'm rocking with a black man till I'm elderly. You know what I mean? Those type of women during the Haitian Revolution, they were the ones that we read about that was, standing on top of the walls in the battle, shooting at the French soldiers, loading up the cannons and blowing them away. You know what I mean? The women that we look to as queen mother figures, the women that we venerate, that we honor and respect as historical legends, right? But guess what, bro? During that time, every woman wasn't built like that. A lot of women, yes, a lot of black women during the Haitian Revolution, they ran to Louisiana, they ran to Philadelphia, they ran to Cuba, they ran to France with the white boys. Yes, indeed. And on the other side as well, there were a lot of French women. When the black men came into power, when the black generals started controlling territory in large amounts, when the black men started controlling large armies, guess what? There were a lot of French women from the elite circles as well, the multi-generational colonial plantation owning families. Yes, when their fathers got assassinated, when their brothers got ran out of town and had to hop on a boat and get the hell up out of the island, a lot of those women switched sides and started rocking with the black men. They started getting involved with black men. They started becoming side chicks to black men. And the one thing that I'll give the Haitian generals that I'll always have respect for them for, when you look up who are their wives, who are their main chicks, who are the ones that, carried their name, who was the ones that sat beside them on the throne, it was always a black African woman. Them brothers, I'll give it to them. They were smashing on a lot of white women back in them days. A lot of rich white women was in their pocket. But at the end of the day, when you look, who is Christophe's wife? Black African woman. Who is Desaline's wife? Black African woman. Who is Toussaint's wife? Black African woman. Now, they might have had, 15, 25 white side chicks, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, them brothers kept it in the race, you know what I mean? Because they had a different type of mentality. They had a different type of mindset, right? So, like I said, every woman is not going to be like Jonita, how she said, look, I'm going to rock with my men until, the end of time, until I'm old and gray. A lot of women ain't going to rock like that, bro. A lot of women going to rock with, what's in the best interest of them. Going back thousands of years, when an invading army came through and started swallowing up territory, started slaughtering the civilians, the women, for the most part, were not going to hop in the battle and pick up arms. Of course, you had that rare breed of women, right? That rare crop that was like, listen, I'm defending my territory, my nation. It means a lot to me. I'm rocking with my brothers. I'm rocking with my sons. I'm rocking with my husband. But a lot of women was like, listen, I surrender. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I rock with y'all. You know what I mean? Why do you think Genghis Khan, that famous warlord from centuries ago, they said that his DNA is scattered all over Europe and Asia when he was going around swallowing up territory, conquering territory, running through lots of women. When he ran through them territories, the women flocked to his army. They flocked to his generals, and they flocked to him specifically because he was the king of the whole operation. So it's not that women, don't really understand the concepts and the implications of history. It's just they see the world through the lens of what is the best for me and my children. What is the best for the long-term vision for me and my children? And if that means I got to click up with the enemy, it is what it is. Women going to do that, bro. Women going to do that. Every woman is not going to stand tall like the illustrious women of the Haitian Revolution or the illustrious women of the Guadalupean Rebellion in 1802, led by General Louis de Gresse. You know what I mean? Like, every woman ain't built like that, bro. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You have to get in power, and you understand that when you're a man in power. When you understand, when you're a man with money, when you're a man with power, status, things like that, you see the different ways that women operate and behave around you. It's almost automatic, bro. Once they get around powerful energy, once they get around wealth and opportunity, they operate differently than when they're hanging around someone who, in their eyes, can't offer the same thing. Now, sometimes they bet on the wrong horse, right? Because there were a lot of women who, like I said, when they ran to Louisiana with the white man, it was like slavery and Jim Crow for like another, 150 years? So they bet on the wrong horse. You know what I mean? In their minds, the French colonists was the proper long-term vision for themselves and their children. They were like, I'll be safer there because the rebellion was going crazy. You know what I mean? We burning down plantations. You know what I mean? We slaughtering civilians. So maybe in their mind, it was safer to hop on a boat and get up out of there. But then they had to deal with over 150 years of lynchings, Jim Crow, all type of craziness that was going on in North America during that time. They didn't even really get civil rights until damn near the 1970s. So imagine those women who left in 1792, they bet on the wrong horse. And I think that's what Jonita was talking about when she said, look, even if you go outside your race, quote unquote, that doesn't mean that you're going to find success. That doesn't mean you're going to really find what you're looking for. Because one thing the women did not touch on in the video, and I wish they did, is that going to a quote unquote white man, what does that even mean? Okay, you're going to a man who is melanin deficient. Like, what is that supposed to mean? Is that supposed to offer something for you and your children? Because the average American makes about $50,000 a year, right? Around, give or take, I'm just speaking for where I'm at. And the average white man is around that ballpark. They think that the average white man is like Cecil Rhodes, commanding an imperial empire, you know what I mean? Controlling mines and diamonds and gold and standing armies. And like, bro, the average white dude, just a regular dude, you know what I'm saying? He work at AutoZone. He works regular jobs, like an insurance agent, you know what I mean? They be working at the gas station, car dealerships, like regular stuff, you know what I mean? Like the average white dude is not Napoleon Bonaparte, you know what I mean? Just like the average black dude is not Denzel Washington, is not LeBron James. Most people are just regular dudes. So if you're talking about, I'm gonna go from, regular black dudes and into, regular white dudes, I mean, the only thing that you are making a different step in is, okay, you're going from a melanin rich man to a melanin deficient man, but both men are just regular men. One dude working as a bus driver, the other dude, he's a substitute teacher. Like, what is the step up? You know what I mean? Because if you can get an elite black man, then you can get an elite man of any race, right? But if you can get an elite black man, then you wouldn't even be in the group chat with your girls talking about, even if he colonized you, then we can still get with him. That obviously reeks of desperation, and a lot of chicks, let's be honest, man, they talk a good game and they got a good presentation, but a lot of them is lonely, bro. Like I mentioned before, lonely emotionally, financially, they on their own, they independent, they got to pay their own bills, they got no help. Even physically, a lot of them don't even got a man to even come through and smash them, which depending on how you look at it, that's a perfectly fine thing. I'm not supporting women just being out in the street, you know what I mean? Just letting everybody smash, but a lot of women are lonely. And once you are talking like that, you're talking about, man, even if he colonized me and committed atrocities against my great-great-grandmother, I can still get with him. Like, you got to understand the desperation is off the meter at that point. You know what I mean? So the only thing you can really do is just, you know, hopefully that person gets it together. You know what I mean? Because I don't think any beautiful woman is going to talk like that. Like a woman that's gorgeous, top 10, like fire. She not talking about, you know, even if he colonized me, I can still get with him. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Like, come on, man. Like, if this is what's going on in y'all group chats, man, listen, I don't even want to see what's not being mentioned in public. Because listen, I have never heard none of my brothers, none of my homies talk about, well, at the end of the day, we men too. So, you know, men fight wars against men. So it's not like we're going to be fighting wars against women, you know, women coming in, you know what I mean, conquering territory and colonizing people. I don't think that's how it's going to go. So men would never say the opposite. But like I said, we see the world different, men and women. You know what I mean? Men honor different things. Like nationalism is a big thing for men. You know, our ancestors, our cultural legacy, you know, keeping that alive, we are willing to die for that. You know, if you're a man, you know, who got your head on straight and you understand where you came from, you understand your history and your origins, and you take pride in that, many men will die for that. Women are not really about to die for that. You know what I mean? And that's not anything against them, because like I said, they work in the best interest of themselves and their children. So they can't really afford to just be, you know what I mean, jumping off the cliff and dying for the cause and the rebellion. Men have usually historically been the ones dying for the cause and the rebellion. And on certain occasions, like the Haitian Revolution, like the Guadeloupean Revolution, like even the Dahomey in West Africa, and even many other ethnic groups in West Africa, the women have picked up arms as well. But for the most part, in general, women are not really going to be picking up arms and trying to die for the cause and the race and the nation and things like that. That's what men like to do. And that's why I have a channel. I speak mostly on historical facts, historical Black history, you know, especially honing in on the history of Black men, our days of glory, our days of achievement. And for the most part, my audience is, I'm assuming, mostly men. You know what I mean? Like, unless I talk about like trending topics and things like that, I'm not expecting to have a whole bunch of, you know what I mean, baddies in the comment section, you know what I mean, big booties and just, you know what I mean, just looking good. I'm not expecting, you know what I mean, my comment sections to look like a Chris Brown concert with the topics that I talk about. I'm expecting it's going to be a lot of men in the comment section, because, you know, this is what men talk about. You know, when we smoking our cigars and we drinking our beers and we hanging out, we talking, you know, we talking politics, we talking history, we talking about the economy, we talking about the different implications of different policies. So obviously, when I have 5 sisters, so I understand the conversations that women have amongst themselves, amongst the group chat, and the way they see the world is going to be different from us. And that's perfectly fine, bro. That's perfectly fine. It's nothing that's specific to Black women. Listen, like I said, Chris Brown made that song, right? What's that song? How it go? These hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. It's the facts, man. It's the facts. But that's why when you have a legendary woman that really stand on business and really ready to die for the cause and really ready to die for their people, stand by their men and die beside their men, men honor that to the highest degree. That's why we talk about the women from the Haitian Revolution with the honor and the respect and the dignity that we speak about them with. You know what I mean? Because that is a woman that is cut from a different cloth. So it is what it is, man. It's your boy Bakari Desaline back in the building. Yes, indeed. And I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in the ass, and I left.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, this Bakari was kind of babbling there, but he makes some interesting points. I'll be curious to hear what the gentlemen on the panel have to hear. If there's any of the ladies in the audience who just listen to that and you see the prompt on the screen, just click the invite link pinned to the top of the chat. Join us. I'd like to hear your perspectives on this as well. Is race first politics inherently a male trait? Let me mix it up a bit. Let me start with Oni on this one. Oni, what say you?
Yeah, so what I'm gonna say is this: I don't really agree with the woman bashing kind of thing, or like, you know, dividing the genders like that. I think trouble with our community is that a lot of us go by pseudoscience in a sense. So I think when he was explaining that women look after themselves and their children, like, yeah, that's true, but like, so do men. But men look after women too, and women and children, and they look after themselves, obviously. So, you know, saying that there are women who ran away, there were men who ran away. You know what I mean? And saying that there were men who fought, there were women who fought. You know, and that's just a constant. Like, the reality is that there is going to be women who fight. there's going to be men who fight. Obviously, men are going to fight better than women, and men are going to fight more often than women. But that's because you really shouldn't have women fighting. You know what I mean? Like if you're a man, you know, it's like don't buy into Mulan. You know, if you're a man, you should fight before your woman fights. You know, and that's just a principle that we've had even in Africa. So it's just so I wouldn't personally, you know, bash women and say, oh well, blah blah blah. I think again, like I said, the pseudoscience is rampant in our community. So you have this idea of soulmates. You know, when you have the idea of soulmates, you're already operating on pseudoscience. You know what I mean? So obviously you're going to come up with some sort of pseudo, like you believe that the only way I'm going to have a successful relationship is if somebody on the other side, like somebody mysteriously was born to be somebody who can suit me, right? That's pseudoscience. That's stupid. But if you just said, hey, you know what? I can get a good relationship if I become a good person and I meet somebody who also became a good person, you know, or I meet with somebody who I can work with who can become a good person. That's not, oh, this person's my soulmate. That's how you can sustain a feasible relationship, you know? But if you're operating on, hey, I could only have a good relationship if I meet the right person who just happened to be right for me, notwithstanding my flaws, right? You're gonna end up 50, 60 years old with nobody. You know, but that's what happens when you operate by pseudoscience. And I think that would have been the angle that I would have taken if I, you know, came across this sort of thing. But like, yeah, this whole, oh, well, you know, men, we fight. Yeah, you're supposed to. You know what I mean? The Yoruba said, men are the fence, women are the garden. That's kind of like my philosophy right there. You know, the fence fights or the fence defends, you know, and you're defending the women so that the women don't have to fight. Because if you understand human biology, right, we go back to science. If you go understand human biology, women are really valuable for children. You know, like they're really valuable because children are so weak and dependent. You need to. So, but I'm not going to try. I'm trying not to babble. So what I'm going to say is that, yeah, I think I wouldn't do like a hit piece on women. You know, I think everybody fights. Everybody goes after their best interests. Everybody runs from conflict. You know, because like the same how she's saying, hey, you know, the same way how he's saying men fight, but then he's saying, hey, the French man left with the black women. You know, so if the French man left, he's a man, he didn't stay and fight. You know what I mean? My point being that, yeah, I don't think that like I just wouldn't do a hit piece on women because and again it just doesn't really make any sense. Do women have race first ideology? Yes. Do men have race first ideology? Yes. Do women not have race first ideology? Absolutely. Do men not have race first ideology? Absolutely. I don't think it's I mean, I'm not going to say that men, I mean, it's possible. It's possible because like he was documenting different subjects. It's possible that some men do take to war interests more than women, but that's really more to do with socialization, and not just socialization, but like socialization and curiosity. And I think also, yes, men, because of our testosterone, we might be more interested in, you know, combat. You know, like I was low key surprised when I think it was Marcus McGee. Marcus McGee. I think she said something about boxing, and I was like, why she watches boxing? I don't. You know what I mean? But like, you know, it is a little bit more surprising to see. But again, like times are also changing to where I didn't want to say times are changing. Like legit, there's a lot of women who are fans of boxing and stuff too. They're not as vocal, and they might be more dismissed, honestly. But like obviously, you know, obviously these rappers that we tend to think is a male thing, or these or whatever, they all have women fanatics, because otherwise these boxers and like these athletes wouldn't have, you know, all these women around them. And you know, I just think that, I'll just say this though, I just think that when he says, hey, men go after these people, or all right, women go after these people, or women go seek power, or women do this, so on and so forth, men do the same thing. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, shout out to Marcus McGee. Marcus McGee is a guy, by the way. Marcus McGee Jr. And also shout out to Bobby Wright. I haven't seen Bobby Wright or Shoot the Breeze in the chat in a long time. But shout out to that brother. Hope he's well. With that said, let me hear from Brother Bakari. What say you?
Well, okay. First, I'm glad that beautiful black woman finished her conversation with saying she's pro-black and she got her a black man. And when she say how the white man, even though they colonize you, could be your soulmate, I don't agree with that. Now, if you go, but you know, I don't agree with that. This dude never, whatever the hell, man. Oh my God, I was glad when you finally stopped that. Koku, I might have to give you some more money in your damn super chat for stopping that. But that's something. That's why I don't listen. I would listen to some of his videos, but the stuff he did is the reason I stopped. He have videos saying any black woman that's saying she's pro-black, they date white men. He always bash women. And he was talking about a man is supposed to go to war. Why is it black people act like if a man decided to go to war to protect the community or to do whatever, we're doing something special? But when you look at every other group of people, it's their men that's going to war. Their women is not on the front line either. But so a black woman and a person like him, and a person like that, but they can't win in those situations because if they decide to stand up and fight, he would scream, look at her. She's trying to be like a man. So then now if they don't fight, he's criticizing them for being a woman. But did y'all notice how he gave black men passes for having white women? He kept, oh yeah, but they married somebody black. All the side chicks. What the hell? So that is okay for a black man. Or it was because you're a general. So if the black man can have side chicks that's white, which I don't agree with either, why are you mad? Because a black woman, that black woman, she wasn't even good enough to be the side chick to the black general. Because he wanted white women. Once he got power, he wanted white women. So she left with a white man. Everything he said, every statement he made was like hypocritical. The whole everything that he was saying, he just sounded like a hypocrite. He sounded like a real hypocrite. Say one thing, then say something else. He'll say one is okay for the man, it's not okay for the woman. I'm not gonna even go through how many women fought. We know we had our women fighting. That could be part of the problem. That we had too many women fighting and not enough damn men. That could be one of the problems, but those are one of the things that he do. He's like some of the things I've heard him also. He's like the opposite of the FBA and ADOS. He like gonna always be pro Haiti and pro Caribbean. He's I don't. But then he say he's pro black and he talk about it. He's a little confusing, and I listened to a few videos and then I stopped and I hadn't heard him in a while because he rambles. He rambles a lot and shit. I think he's confused, and I don't know what part of New York he in where the average black man is making $50,000 a year. Maybe that's the average salary in New York. I don't know. And I don't know. He like to put themselves on. I don't know, man. It ain't much I can say about that, but all that damn rambling and he wasn't making sense, and it was black woman bashing, but at the same time giving black men passes for doing the same thing that he say black women like to do.
Yeah, keep it balanced. I agree with that, Bakari. Keep it balanced. Don't turn a blind eye one way or the other, right? With that said, let me hear from Buana. Buana, what say you to what Bakari and Omi had to say as well?
Yeah, so black women have been socially more race loyal than black men. Why do I say that? If you go on a website called blackdemographics.com, you would see that black women marry other black men into the 90% percentile, whereas black men marry black women into the 80 percentile. So black women have been more race loyal socially towards their race than black men. Now, I don't go as far as Brother Bakari, who thinks that the black woman is Yahweh, you know, but I think that I venerate black women, especially good black women. You know, I think good black women, I venerate them, I respect them, I honor them because I know it's been my experience, personal experience, that they are absolute riders. They are riders, you know, and if I also say in terms of relationships, you see, so oh, they riders, why you do this, why you do that? Well, I have not been as a rider as they have been, but I think that they have been riders. I think that black women always been at the side of the black man in terms of socially, politically, and even in war. So I would never discount some black women because there are beautiful black women out here who about that life, you know. So that's been my experience. However, I understand that the culture is changing. I understand that the temperament of some black women are, you know, we gonna do whatever we gotta do. We can try to get this vibe, but that's not all women. I think that divestors within our community have a large sounding board, and because it's so loud, you would think that black women ain't down for black men, but that's not true. Because I watch what people do, not what they say. And like I say, if the numbers are as such where black women marry their race into their race up into the 90 percentile, that says something. That says something. Are they loud? Sure. Are they annoying sometimes? Absolutely. But are they riders? Historically, they have been. I think that that gene is still there. I think that is waned sometimes because of the circumstances we find ourselves into. I think that because of our own actions also, also they tend to lose this fidelity towards us. But I think that black women are riders, and I can't discount them. And I think that they are more race loyal because they have done so in act, not in talking, in act. But like I say, man, we are in a situation where we have to prove ourselves, you know, to ourselves first, and then to our women. And I think that when we prove ourselves to our women, ourselves first, I think that naturally they'll fall in line. And I think that a woman is not going to follow a man who have no guidance within himself, no instruction to the world within himself. No, he have no way, no plan to life, no way where he's going, no sense of direction within himself. How do you expect another person to follow that or come up under that? You know, so I think that the onus and responsibilities lie with us first, and then we could be with our women. You know, we need to straighten our shit out first, and then get back to them. I think that they'll eventually fall in line. That's what I really believe. And just to cut it short, I'll just leave it there.
I just say this to that. I think it's a subset of black men that don't have vision and don't have ambition and drive and aren't doing anything with themselves per se. And to be honest, because I'm not a black woman's God person either, but to be honest, I think a lot of black women choose those guys to go behind. And I think that's the issue. They choose the guy who has no aim, you know, no purpose, no destiny, and they choose that guy often. And I know the reasons why, but I'm not going to get into it here right now. But I think that needs to change. I'll just throw that into what Buana had to say. Also, Trigger Happy 262 in the chat says, "Nah, Buana, that's not a good argument. You have to dissect why black women are more race loyal. Marriage is not enough of a metric. Women socially are not supposed to propose in the West. Earlier, the matron said black women stay single because they can't find a black man. So I'd say we as women are more race loyal than the men." So yeah, so finally we got a woman to weigh in on this topic for us. If there's any other Black women out there, you guys can weigh in as well. Bakari, you want to add something?
No, that was accident. I'm waiting for everybody to speak. My hand was on the computer. I accidentally hit it. That's why I closed the mic.
Oh, okay, no problem. With that said, let's hear from Black Steel.
So I don't think that Black women marry less outside their race because they're more loyal. I believe that Black women aren't typically seen as desirable partners because of racism.
I
So
agree.
they did a study on online dating that Black women were responded to the least. So I don't think that Black women are necessarily race loyal because they're just sticking with us. Other races don't really see them as marriage partners or outside of using them for sex. And we can see a lot of evidence of that within these crazy ass divestors. But to the video, staying on topic to the video, this dude, he was really contradicting himself in a lot of his statements. And I think that gender essentialism is really going to be the death of us. You know, this idea that women do this, men do that, women do that, women don't really study history, women don't study battles. They do. And we've had several African women who led troops in the battle. We had Harriet Tubman was the first woman to ever lead American troops in combat during the Civil War. So this idea that women don't do this, women don't do that, at times of war, you know, people do what they got to do. We can't excuse women being traitorous or betraying their people as a result of their feminine nature. That type of treason can't go unpunished. You know, she's looking out for her best interests. But the reality is that if these people conquer you, they're not going to treat you well. You're conquered. They're going to breed you out of existence. Look what happened with the Native Americans. When they got conquered, these Indian women weren't jumping to the white man. No, they got treated as sex slaves. So it's really short-term thinking. If these women are really thinking that, which I don't think they are, I think that, you know, race first should be genderless, because at the end of the day, every one of us, Black man, Black woman, we're all under the gun. If by some, you know, atrocity, every Black man was to be killed, what do you think would be the fate of the Black women who were left behind? What's going to happen with them? Do you think they're going to be left alone? I hear this type of logic sometimes from these, you know, these alt-right divestors who feel like, you know, racism is only towards Black men. So if you leave Black men alone, we'll be left alone. No, tell that to Breonna Taylor. Tell that to Sandra Bland. Tell that to, you know, Rakia Boyd and all these other Black women who've been murdered. I mean, you look at this high, you know, the number of Black women who die in childbirth, or the number of Black women who, you know, suffer, you know, childhood diseases and whatnot. It's not a gender thing. We're all under the gun. I think we got to get past this thinking that men do this, women do that. And we're not going to excuse Black women's treason simply because they happen to be women or they're following their feminine nature. No. You can get it too, sis. So I'll leave it there.
Bakari, you wanted to add something? Go ahead.
Well, first I want to say, Bawana, you right. Black women is not Yahweh. Black woman is God. So you right, because I don't know, Yahweh might be your God. But the Black woman is God. That's what you came from, a Black woman, God. But anyway, what I say, a Black woman has been more race loyal. I try not to do the comparison, but on this YouTube thing, that's what it come to. And it come to gender banging. I agree with him. A Black woman can get it when she sell out, but I don't think a Black woman is loyal because they are not desirable. The Black woman has been wanted by everybody. The Black woman have been wanted by everybody. So
because wanted for what though? Wanted for what? Wanted for sexual access. These white men are not marrying black men.
okay, I got you. I got you. But watch this. The black woman been wanted. The black woman has been wanted by everybody. And I can say the black man been wanted. That ain't there. That ain't nobody's fault that the black man go have sex with another woman and fall in love. All he was wanted for was sexual access. But when he get 3-4 quarters to rub together, now they gonna get half of that when they get a divorce. So to say the black woman ain't been raised loyal because somebody just wanted them for sex, they were loyal enough not to just go give their sex away. And I'm not trying to compare and do gender banging, because the thing about it is, like I said, they sell out, they can get it too. But I'm not gonna. I just like they can get it, the black men get it. I can't say the only reason they've been race loyal is because didn't nobody want them. I would never say that about no black woman. Hell no. The black woman been loyal. Why can't it be the black woman been loyal because she loved black men? That's my take on it. She's been loyal because she's been waiting on a black man. Like Matron said, they be 50, 60 years old, still waiting on a black man. Not because didn't nobody else want them. It was because they wanted a black man, and they wanted a black man to do right. So sometimes we have to look in the mirror. We have to look in the mirror and say, what aren't we doing as men to protect our women? Or how about sometimes a woman might want to protect her, might want to provide her. That's why sometimes they'll fall for, when it comes to protection, they'll fall for the wrong black man because he put on this facade like he's so tough and he gonna protect them. Me and Koku had that conversation. We've had a few conversations about that online. But so we have to look at ourselves and say, why is it our women is turning away from us? And why is it, if it happens, if it happened as much as it happened with black men? Because I know black women, I know something that said, what's wrong with us? Why is it if a black man want to do something, he think he got to be with someone else? I have a theory about that too, but I ain't gonna discuss it now. But that's all I wanted to say, to let you know, Bawana, you right, the black woman, she is not Yahweh, she is God.
Bakari, I'll say this. I'll say I don't think, if you go back generations, I don't think that statement is necessary, is particularly true. I think today, though, I think in this 2023, I think many, I'll stop short of saying most. I think many black women are ready to jump in bed with a white boy, but they don't have whatever it is, right? I'll just put it like that. They don't have whatever it is to be with the white boy. And I think what happens is, again, I'm talking about women in our age group and down, right? I think what's going on now is, I think there's some animosity in dating and in relationships between black men and women, because I feel like a lot of black women feel like they've settled. They settle with this black man by default, and it's not what they dreamed it would be with the bride or whatever. In fact, something I know for a fact, you'll go on like these dating sites, and black women are making, maybe black men are doing it too, I wouldn't know, right? But I can tell you, black women are proclaiming, hey, I mean boldly, hey, I date outside my race. You know what I mean? And I find that very cringeworthy when I hear about it or when I have seen it, right? It's very problematic. So I think that's the one little difference or caveat I'll put in what Carl said earlier, which I agreed to. But I'm talking about women today. I don't think our mothers and grandmothers were sitting up here, quietly hoping to be with a bride. But I think today's black women especially if you go younger. I think that's what they're doing. I just want to throw it out there.
So let me ask you: could it be because when you used to go back to the 70s and black men started making a little money, and when they make them a little money and get some money, all of a sudden, when you see them on TV, they're on TV with their white woman. I'm just saying, like Reggie Jackson said, a black woman couldn't do nothing for him but make him a sandwich. So that was in the 70s. So then if we're talking about what a few black women decide to do today, and I still think it's race loyal. I don't think it's because they can't get nothing from a white man. I don't think they don't want a white man, and I don't know why we think so bad about women where we don't think they can be race loyal to us where they don't want nobody else. That's just my take. That's my take on it.
And plus, he said, just like he said with a black woman, a white woman can't do nothing for me besides call the police on me. You know, I have never seen an old black man with an old black woman, or old black woman with an old black man. That's been my experience, but I've never seen that. I mean, Brother Bakari live in America, so maybe he could tell me. But I've never seen that relationship. Never. You know, so maybe he see an old white man walking around holding hands with an old black woman. I don't really see that. I see the dynamic where if an old black man is walking down the street, the old black woman is carrying his bags, you know, because she's the maid, you know. So I've not seen that, you know. So in my philosophy and how I look at things, I am fine where I am. I don't have to date outside my race. I good. My race is large and huge. It's vast. It go all over the world, all over the world. So what I might not find in one territory, I can find in another territory with a woman who look just like me and who probably have the same cultural backgrounds and kinds of philosophies and thinking. And why do you need to run? Well, I guess that's people say that's preference these days. So you know, I let the young people engage in their preference. After a while, they'll come to the reality of what is what. So,
See, like my oldest son is this, right? And we had this conversation, and he get mad with me. But you know, if you go out and look, especially here, because the interracial dating here around the Atlanta area is getting outrageous. You see a lot of black baby mamas, and you see a lot of black men holding hands and marrying some else, and or living with them. And I know people personally, like I said, my oldest son, but he ain't the only one. I've seen black men. I see that all the time, and I know black men that have done that. So then you have a daughter with a black woman. Her mother wasn't good enough for you to be with. So now you want your daughter to come visit you while you are with this white woman. So what message are you giving your daughter that white is better? Or what message are you giving your son by a black woman and his mama wasn't good enough, and you with a white woman, she's good enough. So now what message are you giving your son? So I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to get into the gender banging thing until a woman tell me that she ain't there because she's there because she's waiting because nobody thought she was good enough. I hold on because I just know, like I just know women personally who would say they'll be by themselves before they date outside of their race. So, and I give black women credit for that.
So I'm not going to keep it too much longer, but I will say this. I've heard black women say the same thing. But what I kind of want to say is that, you know, when we kind of come with this gender essentialism, we see women good and men bad. You know, we kind of push this thing that, you know, it's the women who are loyal and the black men who are disloyal. And when we look at the numbers, that's not really true. I mean, you're talking about 80% versus 90%. But again, there was, and I can put it in the chat, and this is just going from online dating. two races, Black women, Asian men, were responded to the least. So the question is it Black women are choosing to stay within their race, or are Black women not seen as desirable outside of the Black race? I, being a Black man, Black women are the only women that I've ever loved, and they're the only women who've ever loved me. But that's not to say that Black women are race loyal because they just strictly desire a Black man. No, many times they try to step outside their race and they're being rejected. So these white women will go get, have sex with a white man, have sex with a Latino man. He'll get her pregnant. But when it comes down to building a family, Black women tend to have the lowest interracial marriage rate. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that Black women aren't desirable to us, but I'm saying because of racism, Black women aren't necessarily seen as feminine. They're not necessarily seen as attractive for the most part, outside of a very few. This has been said by many a white man, many an Asian man, many a Latin man. So I'm just saying that are Black women sticking with Black men because they just don't want to be with nobody else, or because, hey, these white dudes ain't really checking for them like that? I think it's more of the second one. They're not really checking for them. I think if the white dude is really checking for them, you would see higher rates of interracial relationships, interracial marriage with Black women.
I want to answer. Pauline's statement. Pauline's statement say Rihanna say that a white good boy is feed her lobster and pasta, right? So I don't follow the rap lyrics. I follow the action, Pauline. So Rihanna right now pregnant with two children with a black dude from Harlem. So I don't know what she talking about.
Well, she was dating what's his name, Ashton Kutcher from that '70s show. He was smashing her, but he didn't want to be with her. He was just fucking.
That song is not. That's not Rihanna's song though. I don't know who Ray is, but that might be Ray. Maybe it might be another musician. But that's that song. I got hoes in different area codes. Like some women did that song. Yeah. So that's the line from that song. I'll say this.
Go ahead.
I think that both Black men and Black women are seen as less desirable marriage partners from outside the race, but I think that white women, might get a, like a power figure. Like some white women will marry a Black man off of, man, this motherfucker is pathetic. You know what I mean? Like I could get this guy to do anything type shit. But that's what I see. I don't really think that Black men are more desirable, as much as I think Black men are used for sex too. Like I think generally Black people are viewed as sexual objects, from white men, from Black women. But I guess that a white woman is more likely to marry a Black man than a white man is to marry a Black woman, because I don't actually know, but I think, but I also want to just point out this too. I think that when we're looking at these dating sites, when we're looking at these dating apps, a lot of the people online dating, and I'm not saying this is somebody who does it sometimes too, but like a lot of people on online dating are losers. Like they're not really desirable people. A lot of them are like generally, right? And then, like generally speaking, a lot of people aren't that interesting. So on and so forth. So you're gonna pass over most people. I think Black women do have it tough in the dating scene. I don't think Black men, like if a Black man just wants to have sex, he could be like he could probably be pretty successful at dating. But most of dating market is kind of like, oh, who do you want to like be in a stable relationship with? In which case, I don't think white women are really picking Black men for that, as much as they're like looking for, mandingo, if you will. And that's it. Like I think that both races and both genders are generally undesirable, but it just reflects differently when you look at the marriage rates. Because because I think white women have like there is like white women get treated better, like kind of like the same how Sister Pauline was talking about like some black women expect to be treated better by white men. White women expect to be treated better by black men. You know what I mean? Obviously not better than a rich white guy, but it's like the caliber of black men that you can pull it's probably higher than the caliber of white men that you can pull. I mean, in some ways, I think it's the white man who says it, but he says that the white guy like the white guy gets the desirable black woman, right? And the black guy gets the undesirable white woman. So you know, like she's like 300 pounds or some shit. You know what I mean? And then so she can't get a good white guy, but a black guy is like, oh yeah, I got me a white woman. You know what I mean? And that's the big difference. And so I think that a lot of the undesirable black women are writing to these white guys, and the white guys are like, what kind of like you might be nice in your community, maybe, or you might think you're nice in your community, but obviously I'm not going to go for that. You know what I'm saying? But that's all I'll say.
I appreciate that. We're going to end at 11 p.m. So what I'll do is I'll just move on to Should It Be topic number 4. But that was a good discussion. Great discussion. Good responses from the chat as well. I appreciate everyone on that topic. As always, we could bring these topics, similar topics back and further the discussion. Should it be topic number 4 tonight? Probably our final topic tonight. Topic number 4 is Burkina Faso and Mali may become one country in our lifetime. Are we in an African spring? This came with a link taking us to Twitter. It's taking us to a tweet from African Stream saying Traore on Pan-African Federation. Caption says the armies of Burkina Faso and Mali are as good as one. That's according to Burkina Faso President Ibrahim Traore, who's been sharing some details on Ouagadougou, I guess is the word, and Bamako's Pan-African Federation. He also revealed that economic ties were being strengthened and that the federation was open to newcomers, with Guinea already moving closer. While regional body KWAZ has balked at the idea of such a union, Traore here puts that it's what young people all over the region are calling for. Earlier this year, crowds walked 860 kilometers on foot between Bamako and Ouagadougou to express their support for the Burkina Mali Federation. Traore also makes clear that it's only by uniting that the struggle against outside domination can be overcome. Let us know down below if you'd be up for your country joining. So this comes with a video. We'll watch it twice and then we'll talk about it.
Bien sûr, nous avons lancé l'idée, d'ailleurs qui n'est pas bien appréciée par certains de la... Voilà, vous avez dû voir les images dans certaines conférences où ils ne sont pas d'accord qu'on puisse fédérer. Et il faut que les gens comprennent qu'en rang dispersé, ça sera difficile. On va se battre, mais il faut que l'Afrique arrive à s'unir. Et plus on s'unit, plus on est efficace. Nous sommes en train d'évaluer actuellement beaucoup de choses avec le Mali, surtout sur le domaine économique. Sur le côté défense, déjà, on a des accords, ça c'est déjà scellé. Les Maliens viennent chez nous, c'est la même armée. On fait tout ensemble, on s'entraîne ensemble, on combat ensemble. Terrestre, aérien, tout se passe bien. Et voilà, donc le volet économique aussi, on est en train de réfléchir. On a beaucoup de flux d'échanges commerciaux. Comment renforcer, voilà, il y a beaucoup de paramètres à prendre en compte. Et voilà, on n'exclut pas notre État vienne fédérer avec nous. Donc le processus est en cours. Voilà, et plus tôt ça va venir, mieux c'est. Donc s'il y a d'autres États qui sont intéressés, c'est sûr qu'on va aller vers la Guinée. Et s'il y a d'autres États intéressés, qu'on puisse s'unir. C'est ce que la jeunesse demande. Bien sûr, nous avons lancé l'idée, d'ailleurs qui n'est pas bien appréciée par certains de la CEDEAO. Voilà, vous avez dû voir les images dans certaines conférences où ils ne sont pas d'accord qu'on puisse fédérer. Et ben, il faut que les gens comprennent qu'en rang dispersé, ça sera difficile. On va se battre, mais il faut que l'Afrique arrive à s'unir. Et plus on s'unit, plus on est efficace. Nous sommes en train d'évaluer actuellement beaucoup de choses avec le Mali, surtout sur le domaine économique. Sur le côté défense, déjà, on a des accords, hein, ça c'est déjà scellé. Les Maliens viennent chez nous, c'est la même armée. On fait tout ensemble, on s'entraîne ensemble, on combat ensemble. Terrestre, aérien, tout se passe bien. Et voilà, donc le volet économique aussi, on est en train de réfléchir. On a beaucoup de flux d'échanges commerciaux. Comment renforcer, voilà, il y a beaucoup de paramètres à prendre en compte. Et voilà, on n'exclut pas qu'un autre État vienne fédérer avec nous. Hein. Donc le processus est en cours. Voilà. Et plus tôt ça va venir, mieux c'est. Donc s'il y a d'autres États qui sont intéressés, c'est sûr qu'on va aller vers la Guinée. Et s'il y a d'autres États intéressés, qu'on puisse s'unir. C'est ce que la jeunesse demande.
Okay, so I think everyone should have been able to catch that. I think everyone should be able to catch that. So, should have been topic number 4, Burkina Faso and Mali may become one country in our lifetime. Are we in an African spring? Let me mix it up. Brother Bakari, what say you to what you just read?
Parlez-vous français? See, I could understand him if he had said that. But anyway, that's great. Burkina Faso, and I read them moving toward Guinea. That's great. And he said that's what the young people want. But that's the same thing I say about here. I really think a lot of the things that we see here, what we want, is the young people here that that I think is going to bring it together. Just for me, having children in a certain age range, I see how they date Black people from all around the world. They hang out together, and they see themselves as the same. The most of this, we indigenous or we ain't African, is not coming from that age range, 20, 25 years old, 30 years old, maybe on YouTube, but I'm talking about out here in real life. You really don't see a lot of the young people doing that. They are not concerned about that. I see them coming together. So when he said the young people, that's what they want. And it also make me think about my friends from Nigeria and my friends from Ghana and my friends from Cameroon who said that the young people is fighting to get rid of tribes in those countries, and they have elders, who is agreeing with them saying get rid of the tribes so they can all be one people. And that's a great thing, because think about it. Cameroon and Nigeria, this is basically the same thing, man. Yoruba, we're gonna say a tribe, Yoruba, Igbo, all that right there in Cameroon, just like in Nigeria. So all these tribes, it's nonsense. So the young people need to come together and overthrow those crooked ass governments in those countries where they can. Unfortunately for us over here, we don't have that power right now to overthrow this government here, but we are in position where we can have power. We just have to create it. But that's a wonderful thing that Burkina Faso and Mali is doing. That's great. And they say they're gonna move toward Guinea. I hope Guinea is a part. I hope every West African country becomes a part, and they can show then all of Black Africa come together and kick them nasty, stinking ass Arabs off the continent, and we just take our land back. On that, I yield the mic.
Appreciate that, Bakari. Let me shout out Joe, who's in the chat earlier. She hit me with a message saying that YouTube is kind of messing with the numbers on some people's devices. It says 2 people are listening. Some it says 8. For me, it says 12. So shout out to Joe. I got your message. I'm just replying here, right? Thanks, Bakari, for that. Let me hear from Oni next. Oni, what say you?
Yeah, Black Power. That's it. Just Black Power. You know, anything about Black people coming together is just good damn news. Brother was speaking right. You know, he's speaking proper. I know Black folk. I mean, the trouble right now that we see is that there's this institution called KWAZ. I was actually going to come on live and just be like F KWAZ, but there's an institution called KWAZ. And you know, that's the thing. 5 years ago, Black folk was bigging up KWAZ. You know, Black folk was bigging up KWAZ. KWAZ was supposed to be some economic, you know, cooperation in West Africa. For some reason, it has this institution called EGOWAZ or some shit. I don't know. But basically, they're using it's now just being used as a military force to try to stop Africa from changing. You know, just the other day they had this they found this matter of fact, it might have been today. Some dude in Gabon was like, oh, stuff is getting tight. So he there trying to leave the country. He got 2 suitcases filled with money. Okay? 2 suitcases filled with money. He's just a senator. All right? How he have 2 suitcases filled with money? How much are these people stealing from
French
Africa?
money. French money.
I mean, it's money, you know. You know, but I mean, yeah. But he's like, it's not real money, it's French. I'm joking. I don't know. But yeah, French money, CFA francs or whatever they call them, right? But he's walking out with this money, and they stop him. But it's like, this is what these politicians were doing. This is what these politicians are up to, and they got to go. But we have ECOWAS, okay? We have ECOWAS, which is basically Nigeria, basically Senegal at this point. You know, a lot of these other countries. Apparently, Tinubu, the president of the guy who stole the recent election of Nigeria, where people was beating up people, stealing ballots literally on camera, beating up posters and all that kind of stuff. That guy became the president, and now he's trying to run up on Niger because of the coup, you know. Whereas he literally had people beating up people who would try to vote for his opposition, you know. And if you look at what ECOWAS looks like, bunch of white folk. These, like, you have the real Africans, like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and then you have the puppets. And like I said, some people are prompting up these puppets, and I would just say that, yeah, I mean, the real Africans, it's always Black power, it's always Black love, right? The puppets, I hope they whoop them puppets, and then the puppets get what's coming. You know, I hope they don't get to the airport stealing out that money. I hope that like that boy was trying, he got arrested. Hopefully, you know, something more. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I'm gonna say.
Appreciate that, Oni. Well said. Let's have from Black Steel. Black Steel will say it.
Well, I mean, Pan-Africanism or perish at this point, and I'm glad they're getting the memo. So I'm glad they understand this. This is good news. I like to see Black people organizing, you know, for their self-defense. Black people are tired of the colonial relationship between Europe. We are not their children. We are not a cow for them to just milk us until we have nothing. There's no reason that the uranium Niger is powering power plants in France, while only 11% of Niger has power on a regular basis. This is not a sustainable system. White power in Africa has always rested on Africans' compliance. You know, the ability to use Africans against other Africans. The armies, white people weren't sending huge armies of other white people to conquer African nations. They were using African troops they conscripted to use against other African people. So we can see this now with ECOWAS. They're getting ready to use this whatever military force that they have to bring Niger back into compliance. So all the other coups that have happened in African nations, it's only this one they feel the need to intervene in. What's going on in Sudan, we don't see, any foreign military intervention in the Sudan. But yet Niger is such a hot button issue. And it's because France is so dependent on their resources. France is not willing to let them go. France has always tried to keep a stranglehold on their colonies. They didn't want to let Vietnam go. They wanted to get a nuclear weapon to drop on Hanoi. It was so bad. So we can see the same pattern that the French don't want to let these African countries go. And it's traitorous that these other Africans are trying to force their own people into compliance because they benefit. So they're okay with the masses of people suffering. So I'm going to quote a Black person. What Kwame Ture said is that the African bourgeoisie is the most corrupt bourgeoisie in the world because they go after, luxury in the middle of mass suffering. So we can see these rich and wealthy elites in Nigeria and these other countries willing to, make sure their brothers and sisters in Niger suffer. The young people see this trend for what it is, and they're tired of it. They're tired of having their dreams crushed and their resources stolen and being forced to live in poverty. So I support this. I definitely hope more other countries join up because there is strength in unity, and I think that we need to understand this. And I do believe that they will overcome and they will secure their freedom. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Kyle. Trigger Happy 262 in the chat says Ibrahim and Goita so far looking good. Don't know much about the Niger leader, but hopefully they overcome this potential invasion, and we know more about them. Let's welcome in Confidence this week. Confidence, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited. This has been it's a lot going on, but this has been I see the topic. It's been bubbling. It's not only these two countries. At different times, I've seen headlines of Chad wanting to join a federation. I've seen Guinea. Of course, Guinea wanted to be part of the federation, and they said they're going to probably build a railroad to connect the three countries, Mali, Burkina, and Guinea. But I've talked to some of there's an activist named Suleiman Jules Diallo, but they have marches in like Senegal and that range of countries to basically break the Berlin Conference. They hand out to the military leaders the book of Cheikh Anta Diop, the cultural basis of a Black federated state. So they know what they're doing. It's they're doing what everybody says they should be doing, but it's in French. So a lot of people over here, the Black media capital of the world, they don't know what's going on, or they're just catching up to it. But this is what a lot of Pan-Africanism has been, is a lot of puppet leaders like giving Black Americans deals, but behind the doors they're sabotaging the masses of the people. Like they'll say, come here, DNA test, here's land. But you see when it's time to make a federation or really unite, and we see a lot of people turning their heads and say, what are you doing? Because Nigeria is not a French-controlled country. They're not a Francophone country, so why are they interfering in Niger right now? It's a lot of it I see is I don't know. I see Mali. A lot of people don't know it, but Mali is actually an ethnic group too. So it's like the one tribe that used to have, an empire, and they had a tribal identity at one time. So they've always kept that in mind and trying to form federations across West Africa. They try to form a federation with Senegal, I think, at one point, or the Sudanese Republic, the Mali Federation. They tried to form. They were part of Nkrumah's Union of African States. that fell apart. I think Liberia was part of it at one time, and now they're doing this, and it's succeeding partly because of social media era. Media information travels faster, so they've always had that. And what they did now with taking over Niger, that they're playing on the ethnic group thing, where like in Nigeria, if you attacked Niger, you're attacking the Hausa people, and so it's like it's I'm sorry, I'm outside. It's taking on an ethnic dimension where people are saying, wait a minute, you declared war, you didn't consult us, those are our brothers. If you do this, you're going to fracture. You're attacking our brothers. This part of Nigeria is going to go this way. So morally, they've already kind of broken Nigeria, and it's it's like 3 months into the guy's presidency. I told a lot of activists, about the UNIA and breaking the Berlin Conference. I invested over there. They took the money and they still voted. I told them these coups in West Africa, they're going to take effect, and it's pointless to vote, but they're seeing it in real time right now. Morally, they kind of broke Nigeria. The fact that it's basically one tribe saying they're going to attack Niger, and then the other tribe is saying, wait a minute, those are our people. And I don't know. They already pulled back of their war declaration. Then they start visiting the governors and saying we can't do this. But now they're saying they're going to have a standby force made of people who aren't Nigerians, and ECOWAS is going to have to put together a force. But at first, Nigeria said they're going to lead everything. But then the people in Nigeria said, wait, we can't attack our brothers. So I don't know if it's going to go through. I think there was a press release that ECOWAS is forming a standby force and ready to invade if diplomacy falls apart. But morally, it's already eroding the unity of Nigeria. And this is my last comment. Nigeria, a lot of people don't know, when you say democracy, they say Nigeria is based on 3 tribes. They call it Wazobia, so the majority tribes with the majority vote wins, and they should rotate the presidency between the Yoruba, the Hausa, and the Igbo. And they said this was the Igbo's turn, and they didn't win it, so they're disgruntled about that. But yeah, right now the Hausa people, just saw them. It's like they feel like a war was declared on them, and they don't have really anything to gain in Nigeria. And some of the secessionist leaders from Hausaland are now talking bold, like we're out. So we'll see. It's just a lot of, Niger knew what they were doing in all these dynamics before they made their move. So to me, it looks like it's well played. And if they invade, they're kind of proving the point of the people in Nigeria who don't want to stay. So it's interesting. I'm just watching everything play out. So I'll just stand by. But I to the topic, yeah, I think we'll see a federation, but they kind of have to empower the grassroots, like grassroots communal voices and government, and the military should be based off what the people say. So that's my point. I hope they can. I think they should have one identity, cultural identity or nationality, but we'll see how it goes. But thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, Confidence, hang around for a minute. When I do the shout outs, I want you to talk about what you're doing and let people know how they can help. All right, so just stick around. We're going to end in a few minutes, but let's hear from Buana.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a mistake to tribalize that fight, because the fight that those West African countries are facing is an international one. So for an international problem, we must have an international solution. If I see, there are several things that happen within that particular week, of those nations doing what they did, in terms of coming together and standing up with one voice. In America, something historic happened as well. There was a fight. Now, this may seem trivial, but there was a fight that happened in Alabama that really carried news headings all over the world, where Black people got together and stand up against what was facing them. Now, some people may say that I was just symbolic, but that really was a statement that resonated throughout the world in terms of African or Black collectivity. There was a 16-year-old that jumped off a ship to enter the fight, say, man, I'm not gonna let my brother get beat up by a bunch of white boys. That symbolism, resonated to the rest of the world, whether people believe it or not. And also the symbolism of what the West Africans did in West Africa. There is a unity. There is a unity that is a underlying thing that's happening throughout the world right now, particularly with West Africans, whether they are on the continent or in the Americas. I personally feel if I had Traore there, I would tell him not to tribalize what's going on, but internationalize it. Internationalize it. Don't leave it to a tribal fight. Turn it into a Pan-African fight. There are people in South Africa, like the EFF and the Zimbabweans, who would join that fighting struggle if a call was made, an international call was made. There are people from the Pan-African world in the Western world who would join that fight as well. I think that they should internationalize that fight. See, the Muslims, whether we want to admit it or not, or the Ukrainians have shown us the way. ISIS and the Muslims say, listen, we are fighting a global enemy. Any Muslims who want to join this fight, you all are welcome to come join it with us. The Ukrainians, when they fight against Russia, they advocated for people who were living in other parts of the world to come and help join their fighting struggle. They internationalized the fight. Now the fight is a protracted one because so many people came to join that Ukrainian fight against Russia. Will they be successful? No one knows. But I would say that if I had Traore there, I would internationalize that fight because everyone is looking at this particular federation, understanding that the international enemy is the French. If these countries would collectively come together and make a call, say people who are willing to support this and help build Africa and take out these old colonial powers, there are many people who will be with that. I think that they should international, even Nigerians, even some Nigerians would stand against the government of Nigeria. I beg to say. So I think that they should international, not only continentalize it, but internationalize that Pan-African struggle because everyone knows we want the French out of the paint in Africa. It's been too long now. So I think that it is a mistake for them to keep that fight as just a tribal one. It's bigger than that. We are fighting for this whole idea of this colonial structure that exists within our continent to be dispelled, to be done away with. And people are watching from the outside, just waiting for their time to come in. This is our power source. You know what I mean? So I think that it would be a mistake for them to just simply tribalize it because it's much more bigger than that. I think that they should internationalize it. But I would stop there.
Can I respond? I don't know. I don't understand what the brother means by tribalize it. But check out
because when you said you referred to in terms of the Hausa, the different tribes in northern Nigeria being brothers with people from the Niger, and I understand that there's a historical relationship that they had. But what I'm saying is what's going on in West Africa is bigger than just that. You understand? Because people are standing from the outside looking in and say, well, I may not necessarily identify with the tribal group, but I identify with the black men who look just like me. And I identify with the fact that these enemies have exploited both tribal groups, regardless of the fact that they have their different tribal groups going on or whatever. They're exploiting all of us collectively. So I'm saying that it is an international enemy. It's an international problem. It's bigger than just the two small tribal groups. I'm thinking this should be an international solution to the problem. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, that's why I referenced Sheikh Ante Diop, who he really explains it in his book. he called it cultural group, the cultural basis of forming a federation. And that's what they're using in Mali and Burkina Faso and Guinea. The activists are using that book as the basis. And when you kind of call it tribe, it's kind of demeaning. But when you talk to the people, they have their cultural ways of government and resolving resolutions, forming a military. You have to consult the people on the ground, and that's how they've gone so far with Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Mali. They've voiced that they want to form a federation. Now Niger hasn't, but I was just referring to the dynamics of why they didn't move into war in Nigeria. So, you have to consult the people, and you have to respect that they have a culture, they have an identity, civilization, and it's good to just talk to people directly, to find ways to reach out and talk to them and understand different cultures. But when you call them tribes, it's kind of demeaning. Everybody has a culture. Why we can't all meet together? And their motto is like blow the Berlin conferences. Like when you talk about the Berlin conference, it wasn't every white country of the world. Black people were defeated by 13 white countries and kingdoms coming together. We haven't even managed to do that, to get 13 of our cultures to come together.
Yeah, but confidence.
Yeah.
You may say, and I apologize for using the word tribe, but you may say that my words are demeaning. But what I'm saying to you is the actions of the French are much more demeaning than I ever could use the word tribe, brother. The actions of the French is not specific to those areas, brother. It spreads across many parts of Africa. So I'm saying that if their tentacles are everywhere, the fight is an international one. It's not specifically based on those specific areas. It goes beyond the borders of Mali and Burkina Faso and the Congo and all those other places. It extends to Haiti as well. So I'm saying if it's an international problem, it must be an international solution.
I think. Well, I don't know. I don't know if maybe the topic should be who would support or join that federation, but I think that's the reason why we haven't had a federation so far. That a lot of times in this Pan-African movement, especially in Africa, people still hide their ethnic agendas in Pan-Africanism. So these guys are saying, let's all come to the table, and so far, not a lot of people have joined them across Africa. But the diasporas now, they're catching on. Now that Niger and Nigeria come into the question, but they've been mobilizing. And some Pan-Africanists, I'm not going to mention names, are still questioning these guys and saying, are you working for France or this and that? Because a lot of people a lot of Pan-Africanists have business deals with KWAZ states, and they've been corrupt. But now they don't. A lot of Pan-Africanists, prominent Pan-Africanists, are not talking about this. But it's because they're doing business deals with those same countries. So everybody's had a chance to promote this, but I think there's a lot of duplicity that's already going on across the continent. I don't see any leaders in East Africa or South Africa supporting any of these coup leaders. So, I think that's pretty universal. They're pretty isolated. But the diaspora, maybe they'll help change that. But they're pretty much on their own. They've been on their own for a while. So,
well, that's the last topic for tonight. Good conversation. Again, we could always continue these conversations. In fact, we could continue them in the comment section after the episode is posted, or we could continue them in the Discord. You guys could join the Discord. Use the link in the description. I want to get to some shout outs before we leave. So, Oni, what do you want to shout out this week?
I ain't got no shout outs. I'm just gonna you know how it is. We're gonna be here tomorrow. We still reading through that socialist rag, and I'm joking, that rag. No, we still reading how Europe undeveloped Africa. I'm thinking there's an anarchy book I'm interested in. I'm thinking maybe I might do some more writing, but maybe not even save it, just like write and just share that experience. But other than that, appreciate you for having us. Appreciate you having me. And peace, everybody.
Thank you for coming through, Oni. Make sure you guys check out Oni tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Black Steel, what do you want to shout out, comrade?
Well, I just want to say this was an excellent show as usual. Lots of good topics discussed, lots of good opinions and viewpoints. And thank you for setting this up, Coco. I don't know if we give you your props enough, man. You really put in the work, and it's greatly appreciated. So I want to shout you out.
Much appreciated, Black Steel. Much appreciated. Buana, what you want to shout out this week?
And no, shout out to everyone who contributed tonight. I really had a good discussion of diversity of opinion, and I just hope that I hope the best for. Oh, by the way, happy Gavi Day. Gavi Day passed without us celebrating that. We should have something to say about that. So happy Gavi Day to everyone. And like I said, I appreciate the show, Koku. You know what it is, and I appreciate all the comments from the brothers tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate you as well, Buana. Shout out to Gavi Day, and also shout out to the a couple episodes back. I completely missed it, but we had our second. We completed 2 years of doing Shoot the Breeze, so shout out to that as well. Conference, I left you for last because I want you to briefly describe what it is that you do, what you're trying to do, and how people can reach out to you. And you and I behind the scenes, we should set up an interview where we could process through all these different things that you're trying to do. Well, go ahead and give your shout out.
Shout out to you for doing what you do. My phone is at 1%. I just came back from Garvey Day, but we're trying to get a Garveyites-based Caribbean association down here in Jacksonville. So all these Caribbean groups, we think they should come under Garveyism, and then we could add black nationalists from USA and Africa together, and we think that was Garvey's formula. So we're just I'm not driving, so it's hard for me to get around, but I visited the Gullah Geechee ceremony in Brunswick. I visited the Garvey Day celebration, the Nation of Islam. So I'm building a network here of people who are like-minded, and we think we should just stop having these cultural associations and nationality associations if we're not going to have them under Garveyism, and we think that's the formula to build a mass movement, trying to get the church on board lastly. So that's where I'm coming back from. But I will stay in touch. I'm trying to get my new contacts to produce content, maybe Zoom, and have it part of the KWAZ network, and then start to join the streams when they can, or as we grow. But I've had people record Zooms before, so hopefully that can be on the network, and we have more people, because everybody's always busy. We don't have an economic strategy yet to free our time up, but I'm still working, and I think we're going to be growing, because I think everybody knows what's going on in Africa now. They're energized. So, yep. So thank you for everything you guys do.
Appreciate that, conference. I'm gonna send you a message. Let's set up a structured, like interview conversation about what you're doing, and we can make that a thing that folks could become more aware of.
Oh yeah. My phone might die, but Ugandan kings that visited Jamaica tried to declare it. They did a ritual to declare it a maroon or black kingdom. I got them in the network too. They're trying to do gold business, but they need to be tied to America, and people need to know what they're doing. And they got connections all over Africa, and they're down with everything. So they need a voice. Yeah.
All right. In the chat, the matron says that Clemson Brown, the documentarian, joined the ancestral realm. So, R.I.P. to Clemson Brown. Well, with that, I guess I got everyone with the shout out. So, you know the deal. I'll be back next week. You might see me pop up during the week. We'll see. I've been kind of busy as of late. Want to thank everyone who was here, from Trigger Happy 262, the matron, Daily Affirmation by Pauline, Joe, Nell was here. Sister Raw was here. KW Dawn 7. KW Dawn 7. McGee was here. Marcus McGee was here. And if I missed anybody, they were here earlier. I think Keto was here as well. If I missed anyone, shout out to Lero. Shout out to everyone who was on the panel. Black Steel, Oni from the Pro Black Perspective, Confidence, Buana, Bakari was here as well. And Kevin Carre. I'll see you guys next week this time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and hopefully we'll have a great experience then too. Until then, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.